Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Of course, we're still following that national breaking news out of Minnesota this afternoon. Of course, tragic reports after a now deceased gunman opened fire on young students who were taking part in a Wednesday morning mass at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis. As you guys may have seen, President Trump's Truth Social post, as we're told, 2 children ages 8 and 10 were killed, 17 others injured. Out of those 17 injured kids, there's 14 that are children, 3 adults who are recovering from gunshot wounds. On Truth Social this morning, as you see there, President Trump said, quote, "I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded, and they are on the scene." Now, the White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved, end quote. So that from the President of the United States earlier today, of course, everyone following that tragic news out of Minnesota. In the meantime, we're going to get back to our 24/7 news cycle stories in just a minute as we have our scheduled interview with the great David Schroeder of Monetary Gold. David, thank you so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm great. You know, it's a tough way to start the broadcast, of course, with that tragic news. You know, we know it's good versus evil out there, don't we?
That's just senseless.
It is. It is. I understand there may be some audio technical difficulties. I do hear you here, sir. Okay, I guess it's back up now. But yeah, to your point, it's definitely God versus the devil. That's the root of all of it. Very tough day in Minnesota today. And I know you guys are one of the great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, Monetary Gold. And, you know, we hear about this. And again, we're going to get back to the news of the day. I know it's not a normal kind of newscast when it comes to that kind of tragedy. But, you know, when it comes to our finances, what is the Genius Act and how does it kind of differ from CBDC?
Well, the Genius Act is a law that was just recently enacted in July and signed by Donald Trump. And basically, a CBDC means it's a central bank digital currency. And so this is a way for the Federal Reserve and the federal government to literally have total control over every person's finances. There is no privacy. There are no restrictions. There is nothing that prohibits them from watching your finances. There's nothing that prohibits them from, if they don't like your politics, you know, they can cut you off. So a CBDC is a pretty wicked way of having control of a country's or a nation's finances. And we just look at China. China has a CBDC. But with their CBDC or their digital currency, they have a social score attached to it. So if they don't like your politics or if you don't do what you're told, the lower you go on that scale, the harder it is for you to transact business. Now with the Genius Act, it's almost the same thing. The only difference is that now your finances, when you use what's called a stable coin, it's used or it's published by public companies, right? Where they will use a blockchain technology, and then you can use that stable coin wherever people take a stable coin. And the secret thing behind this, if you're familiar with gradualism or incrementalism, the sneaky thing behind this particular bill is that what they do is first they get you, oh, hey, it's okay to use a stable coin. You can use it at certain locations. And then what they do over time is they get you so used to using it that once a half a generation or more has gone by, so many people now use it that now they say, we now can control people's finances. And there is current legislation pending that's been pending for almost 2 years by Senator Sherrod. And so we know that President Trump signed an executive order saying, no, we don't want a central bank digital currency in the United States. Well, what he's done is he's given the government a workaround to that. And that workaround means now, still using blockchain technologies, the government can still censor your finances. If there is any kind of suspected problem with your finances, maybe they thought you did drugs, maybe they thought you bought a gun you shouldn't have bought, maybe you're doing things that you're not supposed to do. Well, all of that information is now given to the federal government. And because it's blockchain technology, I can go and find all of your transactions. With AI and with other companies that use analytics, they can literally zero in on any type of transaction. So this new Genius Act, which whoever came up with that was actually pretty genius. They found a workaround to control people's finances.
So the question
and
is,
gradually over time, they're going to use that. They're going to get you hooked on that. And here's an example of how they get you hooked. If you remember in the 1930s, we enacted legislation to have Social Security, right? It was supposed to be for one thing only, for you to get Social Security checks. Well, over time, they said, well, you know what? We want to use it for other things. We want to use it so that you can get credit cards, so that you can get a credit card, so that you can open up a bank account, so that you can get an ID or a driver's license or whatever. So gradually over time, what they do is they keep expanding its use. And so that really was pretty genius on somebody's part to come up with such a crazy piece of legislation.
So the question is, does the Genius Act allow for financial surveillance? Can it be used to track purchase and payment activity? And could the act be re-legislated into a CBDC? I know you covered some of that there, but can you fill in some of those blanks?
So there's no more financial privacy when you're using any form of digital currency. All of that can be tracked. If they discover that you're doing something you're not supposed to, they can seize your account and then they can destroy whatever stable coins that you have. And as far as enacting additional legislation, all the Senate and the Congress has to do is come together, enact new legislation, which will then take out the executive order and make that useless. And now they'll have new legislation where the Federal Reserve, the federal government, will then now have 100% control over your finances. There's no privacy. I can go and search your transactions. That's how private it is.
Well, that's always interesting there too. And then what happens though if a stable coin company fails? Does the FDIC insure you at that point?
No, there is zero coverage. There's zero insurance coverage. So if there's a company who is doing good for a couple of years, but then other stable companies are doing better, and they finally go out of business because they just can't compete, or they fail. If they fail, right? Maybe the CEO is stealing money under the table or something, right? And that company fails, there is zero insurance coverage. So the FDIC will not step in. They will not cover you up to $250,000. There is zero coverage in that circumstance.
So the question then overall is, how can people reach out to you guys? Because it sounds like that's a great option. And I know that when we talk about monetary gold here at the network, we say things like, it's gold and silver has been really the place to go over the past 5,000 years. I mean, it's something that's really solid. So can you tell us about monetary gold and how people can get that first step in the 1, 2, 3 step of financial peace?
Absolutely. Well, let me back up a little bit. Let me tell you this. There are states who are watching what's going on financially. Currently, there are 13 states that have enacted legislation that allow for gold and silver to be used as legal tender. There are an additional 11 states that currently have pending legislation that has made it through one or the other of their chambers within those state governments. And so the beautiful thing about that is, let's say like Wyoming, I go to Wyoming and I want to buy a new car and I've got a $20 gold piece. Well, the melt value of that $20 gold piece might be $3,600, but the intrinsic value based on who designed it, when it was made, all those various criteria, it might be worth $5,000. So now I can walk into a car dealer and say, hey, I would like to buy that nice, beautiful Toyota. And here's a $5,000 gold piece that I would like to use as my down payment. That's legal tender. And so one of the beautiful things about monetary gold is we help you kind of diversify your financial assets into gold and silver. And there may be a day where when all we have left is a digital currency, well, there is one particular currency that is 100% private. That's gold and silver. And so I can come and I can transact business with you. You and I, we can do business. We can do it with gold. We can do it with silver. And nobody's privy to what we're doing. And that's the way it should be. And then what I would recommend is picking up the phone and calling Monetary Gold to get the free guide. Because basically what the free guide will do is it explains some of the things that are going on monetarily, in our country and globally. And it will literally give you ways that you can begin to move some of your financial assets out of paper assets into real physical assets. And let's say the stock market crashes and let's say you've got $100,000 in the stock market. Well, if you had $100,000 in the stock market and it took a huge plunge like in the 1920s, you could literally be wiped out. You could literally lose everything. If you've taken maybe a third of your financial, your money, and put it into a physical asset like gold or silver or palladium, and if that stock market crashed, now your $100,000 may have been reduced to $35,000, but guess what? Your boat hasn't sunk. You're not completely wiped out. You still have a way to transact business and live. And so that's a big deal. So I would highly recommend that they pick up the phone, call, and get that guide. And we spoke about this last week. We do have something going on for RSBN viewers. Until the end of this month, we are going to cover all of your IRA fees for the life of that account, right? Now you have to qualify, but I want you to pick up that phone and I want you to call and speak to one of our specialists, and they'll explain how that works. And if if you've got an IRA or 401k, those assets, those fees, after 10 years, that could literally be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, depending on the size of your account. So that's something that's a huge deal that we've got going on right now. And this is only for our RSBN viewers.
And speaking of RSBN, it's rsbnforthegold.com. Also, you can call 888-617-7994. Also, you see a number. Usually we show it on the screen as well with a different 800 number. There's two numbers you can call there, but rsbnforthegold.com. And David, before I let you go, last question, very serious question now. Do you have any Alvarez guitars behind you?
I do actually.
Really?
I do actually. You can't see it, but I have an Alvarez right there on behind the classical there. I actually do have an Alvarez. What a wild question to be asked. Yes, I do. I've had that Alvarez probably almost 20 years.
Well, Matthew Alvarez. So here's the thing. David, can you ship it to me at no cost? I'm kidding. But that's awesome. I'm glad that you have one of those. David, yes. Thank you so much again. David Schroeder with Monetary Gold. Have a great day. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes. Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye. Pretty cool stuff there with David Schroeder with the marketing team and also running the show over there at the Monetary Gold. Great to have them as a sponsor here. It is 2:17 on Wednesday, August 27th. Matthew Alvarez, we're live here in Studio B, of course. What we do know now is that the White House, the flag has been lowered to half-mast. We have video of that, of course, for the tragic events that unfolded in Minneapolis this morning. Again, 2 children aged 8 and 10 have lost their lives, 17 others injured. And there's that video right now. Let's just go to that live and just kind of, let's do this on the fly here. We can pray. We can have a moment of silence, that kind of thing. And, there's some people that say, oh, why are you praying? Why you're thinking about, why are you praying? This is good versus evil. We know it. So let's just take a live look there May be recorded at this point, but let's take a live look. And at 2:20, we're gonna come back here. So let's go to that live right now, and then right after that, when the director feels that it's the right time, we'll show the half mast, the lowering of our great United States flag. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Moments ago there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Again, President Trump saying, I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This was earlier on a Truth Social post. The FBI quickly responded, and they are on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. The president says, please join me in praying for everyone involved. We'll be talking a little bit more about this story a little bit later, and if there's any more details out of it, we are seeing a number of photos from this suspect and what this guy was into. Awful stuff, but again, the nation in mourning right now, and we also know that we have to do what's right in this country and take care of business, and we have a lot in front of us for our nation, but a lot of winning going on at the White House, so great to see that. In the meantime, let's go to one of our sponsors before we get to some more of the videos of the day. We have some live interviews coming up. Again, as it's 2:21 Eastern, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So, of course, you want to be prepared. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits, but pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with these gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So, All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can actually stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you need and want, and you can keep it on hand, of course, and be ready for anything. So while other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacies actually lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you're going to get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. They also have hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is simple. You fill out your request online, a licensed doctor will review it, and your medications will ship directly to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need. All you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN promo code, RSBN10, to save that extra 10% off, as it is 2:22 Eastern time. And let's also go to monetary gold. We just had David Schroeder on with us. Bank of America is announcing that the U.S. dollar is on the verge of collapse. But think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. So history tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. So gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. So that's now why now is the time to call Monetary Gold and the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So it's 888-617-7994. You see the other number there on the screen as well. Or you can go to rsbnforthegold.com today. You don't have to wait for any kind of collapse to happen. Be ready before it does with Monetary Gold. As it's 2:23, Wednesday, August 27th. Thank you so much for streaming in live for our coverage. We're going to be here for quite some time as we monitor any live press conferences or anything that may happen. In the meantime, we have a lot to get to in the 24/7 news cycle. Of course, monitoring the latest news out of Minnesota. Tragic news, as you guys know. 8 and a 10-year-old have lost their lives because of this heinous act. We'll get into those details, and any more information that we get, we'll go to it. In the meantime, let's shift to one of our videos that we have with the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. Now, he was speaking about Union Station in Washington, D.C., along with some upgrades to those Acela trains, those trains that are on the Northeast Corridor. For those of you that do travel between Baltimore, D.C., Boston, New York, down in New Jersey. I mean, there's Amtrak all the way down in Atlanta and all around the country, Chicago, L.A. I mean, I've been on quite a few Amtrak trains, and I'll tell you, the Acela train have not been on that yet. That's this much faster one-way, direct stop train that now we're hearing is getting upgraded. So let's go to Sean Duffy. Now, listen, after that, we have plenty more to get to here at the network. So thanks again for joining us. Let's go to Sean Duffy. We'll be back in just a minute.
Out of here? That was quick. That was quick. Sure you don't want to hang out a little bit longer?
Has embraced train travel. We built these trains to meet that demand. Today is the start of a new Amtrak, one that lives up to the promise of safe, reliable, and efficient travel. A company that highly values its mission of contributing to the greatest mobility system in the world improves its worthiness of the support of our passengers and the American taxpayer. Our over 20,000 employees understand that the job is not to pick between service and financial performance, it's to do both. Every precious dollar, yes. Every precious dollar of investment needs to make a difference, and every passenger needs to be our most important customer. Whether it's people traveling on the Northeast Corridor, on the brand new next-gen Acela trains, or our long-distance riders, or those using our state-supported services. The job is to run the company well, make good decisions on a daily basis that result in a better experience for our passengers. The next-gen Acela fleet, the biggest investment in rolling stock in 25 years, required determination to reverse decades of underinvestment, but it certainly came with its challenges. Getting these trains put into service required developing skills that had all but disappeared. Thousands of jobs across the country were created to build these trains in the United States, and we plan to keep on building them. Over this year, over 34 million people will ride on Amtrak this year, and our revenue will be nearly $4 billion. Both of these records seem beyond reach just 10 years ago. Our goal is to reach 40 million passengers by 2030 and financially break even in our operations by 2028. How will that happen? By working hard, being smart, and remembering that every day it's not actually about the trains, but the passengers who ride on them and the taxpayers who pay for them. I mentioned a minute ago that our role is to aspire to play a role in a national transportation system that's unrivaled anywhere on the globe. Our aviation, maritime, highways, and goods movement systems are both complex and impressive. Our next speaker is the person who conducts that symphony every day. In his first year as Secretary Duffy faced a number of significant challenges and managed them extremely well. And he forced us all into a new way of thinking that has already generated material improvements in the way Americans move around the country and the world. His leadership and his team's leadership help us get to the final objective of putting these trains into service today. Everyone knows that the last 5% of everything is the most difficult, and without his help and his team's help, we could not have gotten here. So please join me in welcoming U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
Thank you, Tony, and I appreciate your leadership. You have done a fantastic job. It is a great day for a celebration, right? By the way, I don't know who ordered it up, but the sun is shining, the sky is blue, the band is here. It's a wonderful day for this launch. Again, I think the president has been pretty clear on what he wants for a Union Station, for American travel, for train travel. He wants Union Station to be beautiful again. He wants transit to be safe again, and he wants our nation's capital to be great again. And today is part of that. Listen, I've had the opportunity, like many of you, multiple times to ride the old Acela again, and I think we'd all agree it was showing its age. And if you've taken a tour of the new trains, they're beautiful. They're going to be faster. We're going to have not 15 trains, we're going to have 28 trains. So we're going to be able to carry more people on these trains, which I hopefully means better pricing. It's going to mean better revenue, but most importantly, a better experience for the traveling public. And again, that's what we do. We serve the American people with great experiences, and that's what this is about today. So I am completely honored to be here. Again, would I like to have us a little further off the federal dollar and dime? Yes. I think, as Tony mentioned, this is going to bring us a little bit closer to that goal. Again, I would love to see high-speed rail in America. I don't think it should just be China, Europe, Japan, others that have high-speed rail. I think America deserves high-speed rail. This is, at 160 miles an hour, one great step in that process. But again, this administration, this DOT wants to make those investments to make travel safe, efficient, and faster. And so I'm excited to be here at this time for this historic announcement. I also want to talk about Union Station. If you've heard the president and you follow DC news, the president has been very concerned about crime in our nation's capital. He wants a capital that is worthy of the greatest country that's ever existed on the face of the earth, which means a capital that's clean, a capital that's safe, and a capital that doesn't have its parks overtaken by homelessness. And so we look at our equities. We're going to partner and invest in the streets of this city. But today, we are going to look at Union Station. And Union Station is, frankly, owned by DOT. We are going to take DOT from our partners back under DOT control, and we are going to make the investments to make sure that this station isn't dirty, that we don't have homelessness in Union Station. We want a place where businesses want to obtain leases and set up shop and serve the community of DC, but also the people that travel into DC via train. But also, we want if you're out, you want to go for a great meal, you want to go shopping, you want to come to Union Station because it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's safe, it's a great experience. That's what we want to do for Union Station. So today we're announcing that we're going to take Union Station back under DOT control. Not a power play, we've always had it, but we think that we can manage the property better, bring in more tenants, bring in more revenue, and that revenue is going to allow us to make investments in this beautiful building. It needs investments. It's been, I think, neglected for decades, and it's showing its age. And again, we want to make this place beautiful and the premier train station, not just in America, but the premier train station in the world. And that takes money. And again, it's this reform that's going to help us make that happen. Again, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what's happened with regard to the last couple of weeks in D.C. Robberies, they're down 52%. Carjackings, they're down 38%. Violent crime across the board is down by 40%. all of us, if you have kids, you want to be able to move throughout this city without being in fear for your safety or your life. And I appreciate the president driving these policies that are going to change the way people can live and move and feel safe in this community. And we're going to do our part to make sure that people feel safe at Union Station, especially those who are then going to move through Union Station and have a great experience on these new Acelas. I want to take a quick moment and thank our FRA team, who has done a fantastic job. I never thought I'd know so much about trains or care so much about trains, but we have a passionate team who care about making sure people move faster, safer, and more efficiently through our system. But the leader of our team that's truly grabbed these issues is our Deputy Secretary, Steve Bradbury, who's going to come up and speak as well. But he has taken the lead for DOT. He's had great vision and has been a great partner. And a lot of what's happening wouldn't be taking place without his vision and leadership and partnership at DOT. So, Steve, I want to thank you for all that you've done to make today happen. I want to thank you all for coming out. I hope that as we celebrate today, and I love the signs and the fanfare and the excitement around this, it's wonderful. We should have more experiences like this, American experiences like this, because I want people to have a choice. I want their air travel to be less delayed or less canceled. We're on the way to that, by the way. Give me some time. Hopefully next summer is going to be better than this summer. I want less congestion on our streets. But I want people who say, you know what, I don't want to fly to New York. I don't want to drive to New York. I want to take the train to New York, to have a great, awesome option on these trains to make that choice. And again, it's about allowing Americans to choose their mode of travel. And again, what we're doing here is, again, I think opening up a lot of options for the American people to travel differently, travel by train. And so I'm excited. I couldn't be more honored that the president gave me this position at DOT. I'm just going to tell you, I think he gave me the best job in all the cabinet. Some of the other cabinet members may disagree with that, but I think I've got the best job. And I think we impact people's lives, how people move, how quickly they move, how delayed they are, how safe they are, impacts their lives. Do they get home for dinner? Are they late to dinner? Do they tuck their kids in for bed? Do they make the business meeting? All of our work together truly impacts the way people live and experience their families, their communities, and how effective they are at their jobs. So I want to thank you all for all of your hard work, your effort, and again, exciting days that we want this not to be the first and last. We want this to be the first of many great announcements that we make that's going to make travel and train travel great again in America. So thank you all for coming out. God bless, and honored to be your secretary.
Thank you, Secretary. You know, there are so many people at Amtrak that have played an incredible role in us getting here today. We've fallen behind in investing in rolling stock and investing in the rail systems. This major investment represents a real turning point. But, you know, those things happen one step at a time. And sometimes those steps are really difficult, and sometimes they're a little bit easier. But the Amtrak team that worked on this, I have an enormous amount of gratitude for. The board is appreciative of all your work. And the person who leads that effort, the person who has been steadfast on this project and worked through all of the different obstacles and challenges is the president of Amtrak, who I'd like to introduce now to speak, Roger Harris. Roger?
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's a very exciting day here today. Beautiful trains, beautiful weather, beautiful crowd. Thank you very much. As Tony said, I'm the president of Amtrak, and I'd like to welcome you here to this launch ceremony for the next generation Acela. In my many years in the transportation industry, including the last 6 at Amtrak, I have never seen a project bring together a company the way this one has. Next Gen Acela has been a truly impressive display of teamwork, dedication, and commitment, just like Tony said. I'd like to ask for a round of applause for all the people who worked on that project. It's easy to say that these are great days for Amtrak, After all, it's true. We're breaking records across the country. For 2 years in a row now, we've broken our ridership record. But starting tomorrow, it's an even better day for the residents and visitors of the Northeast Corridor, especially in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Acela isn't just for titans of industry and politicians. It's for coming to visit the many museums and restaurants the district has to offer, touring the National Mall, Capitol, or White House. With Next Generation Acela, you can relax before spending a full day visiting the sites and learning our country's history. Catching a Nationals game? Get there before the crowds with a high-speed train. Have an important business meeting in Golden Triangle? Stay productive and connected with our 5G-enabled Wi-Fi. Want to get inspired by state-of-the-art tech before you experience it at that DC Innovation Hub? Now with Next Gen Acela, you can get all of this and more before you step into the city. And yet, it's not just about Washington, D.C. After all, we're about to take this train all along the Northeast Corridor to Philadelphia, New York City, Providence, and Boston. For context, the Northeast Corridor is one of the busiest and economically vital regions in the world. It includes 45% of the jobs in the Northeast, 20% of jobs in the U.S., 25% of the nation's top universities, and 20% of the Fortune 500 headquarters. In addition, the Northeast Corridor contributes $3 trillion in annual economic output, 20% of U.S. GDP. When Acela was introduced almost 25 years ago, it changed the way people thought about trains. Amtrak's market share in the Northeast has doubled since then, and Next Gen Acela is here to take it to new heights. These trains are beautiful, they are fast, they are state-of-the-art, and they are American-made. And best of all, beginning tomorrow, they are ready for service. What should you expect on board? Well, if I could define the new trains in 3 words, they would be premium, convenient, and comfortable. Plus, by traveling at up to 160 miles per hour and offering more daily departures, there has never been a better way to travel by train in America. Thank you to Alstom and suppliers for designing and manufacturing these trains, as 95% of the components are made right here in America. While these trains will service the Northeast Corridor, their impact is national. More than 180 suppliers built parts for these trains across 29 states. All told, investment in this project generated 15,000 new jobs across the U.S., including in cities like Spartanburg, South Carolina, and Marinette in Secretary Duffy's home state of Wisconsin. So really a widespread impact throughout the country. Secretary Duffy, I'm glad you can be here today to celebrate with us. We appreciate your partnership in improving transportation across the country and your belief in these trains and what they can accomplish for America. Also, I want to thank President Trump and the Trump administration, as well as everyone gathered here today for their support of passenger rail. We often talk about a new era of rail, but that can't exist without Next Generation Acela. We look forward to seeing you on board. With that, thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Roger. Very, very well said. Amtrak operates in a partnership with U.S. DOT in many ways, and none of this would be possible without that partnership being effective. Certainly, the FRA has been a critical part of ensuring that Amtrak does its job, does it well, and supports what it does. I know that there are several individuals from FRA who are here today, David Fink, Paul Nussbaum, Kyle Fields, all people who have put an enormous amount of effort into making this possible. But the effort at DOT on a day-to-day basis is led by the Deputy Secretary, who will be our next speaker, Stephen Bradbury, someone who I have spent an enormous amount of time with, working through the challenges of getting us here today, getting these trains running, and we are very indebted to his commitment to service and his commitment to quality and his commitment to our passengers and the American public. Deputy Secretary Stephen Bradbury.
Thank you, Tony. What an honor to be here. And really, it's an honor for me, a privilege to serve with Secretary Duffy in this second Trump administration. I served in the first one, but I can tell you the energy level in the second Trump administration is just off the charts. It's energizing for me every day. And the ambitions that this administration have, I mean, you've seen the announcements, you see what we're doing. And making rail travel great again in America is part of the ambition of the Trump administration. And so that's what brings us here today. I really want to congratulate Roger and his team, our colleagues at Amtrak. It's a great day for Amtrak. And we have a perfect day weather-wise. Wow. And I have the best view right now looking right down the nose of this beautiful, gleaming, high-speed train set, a real, true high-speed train set for the United States. Very exciting. It's going to really make a great passenger experience for Amtrak's customers on the Northeast Corridor, like never before. But those customers also deserve a great passenger experience at Union Station. I also have the privilege, as the Secretary's representative, to chair the board of directors of the Union Station Redevelopment Corporation. That's a D.C. corporation that was set up by Secretary Elizabeth Dole back in the 1980s, pursuant to a direction from Congress. Congress in the 1980s transferred ownership of Union Station to the Secretary of Transportation and gave us a charge to maximize the revenue potential of the station, make it a center of economic activity, generate revenue to go into the station and preserve the historic nature of this gorgeous Beaux-Arts rail station, one of the most beautiful buildings in the entire country, the entire world, really. And that worked great in the 1980s. You may recall there was a wonderful redevelopment of Union Station. It was beautiful. It was an economic center. It was vibrant. It was really an outstanding symbol of our nation's capital. That was more than 40 years ago, and things have unfortunately gone downhill. We've neglected the basic capital needs of the station. The capital needs now amount to something like $170 million. We need a new roof. We need new systems in the station. We need new restrooms in the station. There's a lot to do, and unfortunately, there isn't the money available. As the Secretary said, the utilization of the station is not where it needs to be. We need to maximize the retail revenue of the station, the revenue of the station as an event space. Can you imagine a better event space? And that should generate huge revenue. Digital signage. We have a parking garage. We need to bring this all together and maximize it. We need to get the station on a stable financial footing, and we need to address those acute capital needs of the station. I see Doug Carr here, who heads up USRC, the Union Station Redevelopment Corporation. We're working together with Doug and with Amtrak. As the Secretary said, we have a plan at DOT to take back control of the station, working with our partners, USRC and Amtrak, to get it on a stable financial footing, to address the rehabilitation needs of the station, and really do what Congress demanded we do and take care of this beautiful historic building. Once we do that, and we have a plan to do that quickly during the current Trump administration, we then want to set the foundation to open the doors to a beautiful expansion of the station in the future, probably through a P3, a public-private partnership with a beautiful new passenger concourse. You know, the Biden administration had a plan for a new passenger concourse. They were going to spend a cool $10 billion over 13 years to expand the station out this way, but they weren't going to spend a penny on the historic train house. That's really the wrong priorities. We got to get this historic train house back on good footing, and then we can talk about a reasonable expansion that will make sense and for which Congress will provide a budget with private investment. So that's the long-term vision, which then will create what a passenger experience for Amtrak on the Northeast Corridor. That will supercharge this beautiful Acela service, and that will make for a sustainable future for growth and prosperity and profitability, let's hope, for Amtrak in the future. So thank you all for coming. It's a beautiful day, and let's ride the train.
It is an honor to serve on the Amtrak board, and I wanted to sort of point out that 3 of my fellow board members are here today. Our Vice Chair, Joel Zabit, our Elaine Clegg, who is here all the way from Idaho, showing that the whole country cares about this, and David Capozzi from Maryland, who's also here with us today. I am, as I said, honored to be with such a full group of our board that is so committed to making Amtrak all that it should be. You know, people talk about public-private partnerships all the time, and, you know, the truth is that the intersection between government and the private sector is something that we all need to work at, because there's an enormous amount of value that can be unlocked by having strong partnerships with private sector entities where our economic interests and our mission interests can be aligned. And this project is an example of that. And the truth is that our passengers, they don't really care about whether it's the public sector or the private sector. They want to get on a safe, clean, reliable train. They want to get from point A to point B. How we actually do that is really on us to come up with a way of optimizing all of that. So our partnership with Alstom, one of the premier manufacturers of rolling stock in the world, has brought to the United States and brought to this market technology and innovation that has existed in other parts of the world and that is way overdue to enter the U.S. market. And in fact, Alstom is now learning things from us that they're also using in Europe, which is the way that it should work. And in all of that, we've learned to work together, and we've learned to repeat this and do it more. And what's really amazing about all of this is that the technology and the innovation that exists globally has been brought to the United States, but the jobs have been created here. In Hornell, New York, an entire community has been enlivened by the fact that this project, these trains, have been built there. And we're very indebted to our partner for having seen the wisdom of doing that and accessing that unbelievable American workforce that I know Amtrak relies on and the country relies on. So it is an honor to introduce from Alstom their chief executive, Henri Poupart-Lafarge. Henri?
Hello, everyone. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and it's a real honor to be with you today. I have to say I'm quite impressed to be alongside esteemed speakers, Secretary Duffy, Deputy Secretary Bradbury, Chairman Kochar, and President Harris. It's a fantastic day for us. It's a fantastic day for Alstom. We are today inaugurating a new high-speed line. And as being said, Alstom has pioneered the high-speed technology for the last 40 years. So we have been able to see how much the power of transformation of a new high-speed corridor. It creates new economic opportunities. It shrinkens distances between cities and between citizens. And it creates a lot of job opportunities and general opportunities for all the people living along the corridors. So today, we are inaugurating the new high-speed trains, the fastest trains in the US. But I can tell you it's not just a normal train. This is the most advanced train in the world today. This is the only train combining the high-speed technology with the tilting technology, which allows a train to go faster through the curves. So you have here the most modern train on the globe today. As being said, this train has been entirely built here in America. 15,000 jobs have been created, directly or indirectly, of course, including 800 jobs in Hornell, where Alstom has invested $90 million, making it the largest factory dedicated to rail passenger in the US alone. We have also 95%, as been said, of local content, of US content, including 190 suppliers across 29 states. So this is really a combined effort of all the nations to create these fantastic trains. Of course, as much as I love the trains and the product, I'm fully aware that the effort is not just the product. The effort is a complete transformation on the infrastructure, on the regulation, on the safety, on the security, in order to offer to the passengers a world-class experience. All this expertise has been built and will be able to be replicated, if I may say, for other high-speed projects throughout the nations. And at that point in time, I really want to pause and to thank and to recognize the leadership, the vision of our partners, and first and foremost, of course, Amtrak, the administration, the FAA, which pushed us during all this time to make us even better, to push this train to be at its max possibilities. And it has been a fantastic journey with all our partners here in the US. For Alstom, this is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning of the journey, because we are as much committed to deliver the trains, as much committed to make it a success in operations. So we are going to provide maintenance, spare parts, trainings, trip plannings, everything which is necessary to make the next-gen Acela a success in operation as well. Because today, as has been said, we are not just integrating a train, we are integrating a new era in the US transportation, safer, cleaner, more connected, at the end of the day, more competitive and more productive. So thank you, everybody, for your efforts. I think this is a new era. This is a new page in the transportation history for a more prosperous world. Thanks a lot.
Good morning. I have the honor today of being the conductor on the inaugural run of Amtrak's next generation high-speed train set. And I just want to thank our speakers. Thank you, all of you, our guests, for being here. And also I want to thank the teams from Amtrak and Alstom for all the hard work they've done to put this project into a reality. And with that being said, all that's left to say is, all aboard!
All right, so that was from a little bit earlier today with the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, at Union Station in Washington, D.C. Those of you that like to ride the trains out there, all aboard, as they say. You know, it's Washington, D.C. You can go down to Baltimore or New York or Philly or Boston, all over the place from that Northeast corridor. And then also the train out there in California, I believe it went from L.A. to San Diego one time. Beautiful, beautiful ride. Also in Colorado one time as well. Pretty cool stuff. I know not everybody is a fan of trains out there, but those that are, it's always good to see some upgrades. Always good to see the DOT taking control of what they already had control of, Union Station there in Washington, D.C. All right, so it's about the top of the hour. It's 2:57 here on this Wednesday, August 27th. Let's go to a few sponsors, then we're going to switch some gears and talk about a lot that's going on out there. Of course, the tragedy in Minnesota, heartbreaking and awful to see, especially as we're learning more about this suspect who took his own life throughout that process this morning. Awful stuff. Let's go now, though, to one of our sponsors here at rightsidecallsheet.com/RSBN. You see it right there on your screen, callsheet.com/RSBN. So if you're looking at science or technology, sports, weather, all sorts of stuff, faith, politics, You can always check on Kalshi because a lot of people are betting and trading, and they put money on the line for a lot of this stuff, right? Or some people just check out the polls. You can do what you'd like, of course, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Use the Kalshi app as well. There's more than 1 million users on Kalshi. So let's go from Kalshi to Angel Paste in Spring, Texas. Of course, we know that with Spring, Texas comes good things like Angel Paste. You know, angelpaste.com, you use that RSBN promo code. You'll get the Miracle Cream. You'll get all sorts of products there. Great products, great sponsor, longtime sponsor, and they hire military veterans. Always great to see that as well. And it's good to support conservative various companies out there. So especially a shout out to all the small businesses out there as well. Let's move on now to Cove Pure, a great sponsor as well. Utah and Florida, of course, just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So the question is, why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've seen and been adding it to our water for the past 8 decades? So we know that RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in that study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of those top medical journals out there, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. It's a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. You just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and get straight to work. So they have this ClearWave technology. It's certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't water, things like fluoride or pharmaceuticals or even forever chemicals. None of that sounds good to be ingesting. That all gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water with this Cove Pure machine here. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going to go back to the tap water, guaranteed on that one. The best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So if you want cold or hot or warm water, really couldn't be easier. And if you happen to like fluoride, that's totally fine. Of course, you can get that through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So you can take back your right to choose. Click below at covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, you'll get that $200 off, a special discount. So $200 off Cove Pure. Some great sponsors right there. It is now the top of the hour, 3 o'clock Eastern time. We're looking live at the White House. We just saw the flag go to half-mast, and that directive to the entire country to fly flags at half-mast because of this morning's tragic events that unfolded in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're learning more and more about this suspect. We do know, according to officials, that he took his own life, but before that, he took the lives of an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then 17 others are in the hospital. 14 of the 17 are children. So this is a time of mourning, also a time of prayer, but also a time of really, cleaning up our streets and, people that are out there doing ridiculous, heinous acts. I'm thinking that the National Guard in D.C. are already doing a great job. I think that Chicago should be next. Why not Minneapolis? Why not these cities around our country? And on the right side of history, think about it. We, the people, are the majority of the country. And the only people that get fooled thinking that it's really this 50-50 balance thing. It's not even close to 50-50. The mainstream media makes you act like it's 50-50. Oh, half of the country doesn't like Trump. Yeah, right. How about 70% of the country likes Trump? All right. So, and then if you look at the votes, though, a certain percentage over a certain percentage. Some didn't vote, unfortunately. But the point is, you look at common sense, good Americans across this nation are supporters of freedom and life and all the things that anybody across the world wants. The free world. They want freedom, right? Well, so do we. And we are the leader of that here in this nation. And President Trump is the leader of the free world. So having said all that, there's so many talking points. There's so many directions we can go with this right now when it comes to the National Guard, when it comes to cutting down on crime. But why don't we do this? I do have an order of the broadcast today, produced the broadcast today, and looking forward to, sharing various 24/7 news cycle videos from various government accounts. Also, when there's an op-ed time, we'll share some of our commentary with you. We have some live interviews coming up in a little bit. So looking forward to all of that. But let's start out with that big news of the day, the tragic news, as we have those tragic reports after, again, a now deceased gunman opened fire on young students who were taking part in a Wednesday morning mass at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis. Again, we're told 2 children, ages 8 and 10, were killed, 17 others injured. In that 17 or 14 children who are recovering from those gunshot wounds. Again, let's go to President Trump's Truth Social. He said early this morning, I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded and they're on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved. So we see that in Minneapolis this morning. As we get more information, we can share that with you. But I know a lot of you are in the know as well out there. You see a lot on social media. And today we're going to bring a lot of different stories together during the course of this broadcast. Now, in this broadcast, if there are any other national breaking news stories or developing news stories, or if there's a press conference that happens at the White House, that kind of thing, we'll be there for you. Also, I believe we do have a live feed of the stakeout location in D.C. So anytime somebody from the White House stops over there, we can always take that live, as we are live right now, 4 minutes after 3 o'clock. Let's shift over. It's still along the same lines of crime. But, you know, the White House is actually doing better journalism than the fake news ever has. Take a look.
My name is Tamika. The store has been vandalized before with a bunch of teens running in, and then one of the staff members got hurt and injured as well. And it kind of traumatized me a little bit. I didn't like it. It's kind of hurtful. Sometimes I'd be afraid to walk out this door, go to my car. People work hard for their business. Tired of kids looting. They're stealing every day. Even adults come here and steal. They walk beside the kids stuff in their pockets. What type of parenting you doing? Like I tell kids all the time, I get them free stuff all the time. I tell them, like, if you're hungry, I will feed you. There's no need to steal from me, you know? A lot of teens need to be dealt with and accountable for their actions because they know right from wrong. If their parents can't be accountable for them, I mean, the government needs to step in.
All right, so that's a video there from the White House. Again, posted that yesterday, you know, the White House did. And then I said on Truth Social that the White House is doing better journalism than the fake news ever has. And the reason why, well, first of all, they're creative with their video there. But the point is, it's the content that matters. It's the real thing that's happening. It's, again, you might see that in some local news stories here and there, but you know, when there's no agenda, when it's simply what really is happening, what really is the truth. And you know what? You're going to hear that from the people, everyday Americans, just like us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, just like in conservative media as a whole. We're not trying to push some false narrative or some false agenda. We're always here to say, hey, this is what's going on out there. And we have a lot of live video and a lot of events happening, including one that's happening I believe it was moments ago with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, shaking the hands of an official from Israel. So let's take a look at that right now.
Mr. Secretary, will you raise the killing of journalists and civilians in Gaza?
Secretary, are the killings deliberate? There's certainly evidence that crime was
Secretary, the deadline to end the
Can you
war.
ask about Mohammed Ibrahim, 16-year-old American in Israeli prison?
Okay, so that's obviously a quick piece of video there, but what we know is Secretary Rubio was with the Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar from the Israeli State Department. So the two meeting there. These are various videos, you know, that we get here at the network. We like to show you as much as we can. And what I've seen out there, thank you to those viewers who are out there that say, you know what, RSBN's the place to go for the uninterrupted videos, the live events. You know, yesterday's cabinet meeting, holy smokes, that was a long, long event, but we didn't pull away from that at all. And I know some networks may have covered it in full, but That's not the case every day. We are here day in and day out, whether there is 1,500 viewers, up to 15,000, up to 1.5 million, which we've seen over the past couple weeks. All sorts of great viewership, because you guys are sick and tired of the mainstream media crap over there, and you just want to see really what's happening live. And you also like to hear from, let's be honest, people like probably me and Robert McNeely and others, because we are the ones out there at the rallies. You remember Christina Loren and Megan Kohler, who's actually going to join us, I think, on the show today coming up. We have a number of people that'll be joining us live. But really, though, I mean, you know, this is what we like to do. We like to bring you what we see out there live. And of course, our commentary, our op-eds, always based in God, family, country. You know, it really is very simple stuff. We're not trying to act like, you know, they say things about it's not rocket science. Yeah, this is not rocket science. It's simple, common sense stuff. Hey, there's crime in Chicago. The cops want to have the National Guard show up to help them, but the politicians who are extreme left don't want that to happen. Like, wait, what? Are you serious? No, seriously, Brandon Johnson, I can't get over this guy in Pritzker. Them and then the people in California. I mean, it's ridiculous to see what's happening. And again, this is about the safety of American lives. This is not a joke. And what we see with the National Guard in D.C. with cutting down on crime, and people are like, you know what? Those that may want to commit a crime, they're not really doing many of those things there right now. They probably think, well, man, the government will come and get us. Well, you know what? That's called law enforcement. If you break the law, then you have to pay the consequences. It's just part of the way it goes, you know? And the only thing is, outside of that, is we know moving forward, we want to continue to win here in this country. So there's many things we can talk about. We're going to get to a lot of it here in a minute. We're going to get to President Trump. The conclusion of his cabinet meeting yesterday, he had something really great to say. Everything he said yesterday was great, but there's this one thing that he said that I want to highlight here in just a minute. But let's go to a couple sponsors before we do that. Let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Of course, you want to be prepared. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits, but most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can actually stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. Now, while other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications. So ivermectin and mebendazole. Also, you'll get this 10% off, an extra 10% off if you use the RSBN 10 promo code. All Family Pharmacy, they offer many medications and many that providers refuse to offer, like ivermectin, which is starting at just $2 per capsule. They also offer hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your medications shipped directly to your door in just a few days. So you can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And use that RSBN 10 promo code, save that extra 10%. Speaking of saving money, or at least working with some money, Tax Network USA, these guys will help you out when it comes to any back taxes. If you missed one of the years or you're kind of concerned about that, well, that may be something to put in the forefront of your mind now, because you can call patriotic people like the Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. TNUSA.com/RSBN is the place to go. You can settle those back taxes today and at least get the ball rolling with Tax Network USA. As it's 3:12 Eastern Time, just getting warmed up here, just like a baseball pitcher sometimes, as we are live at 3:12. With a lot to get to today. Why don't we do this? Let's shift over before we get to some more of our interviews. Let's go to the president speaking about the conclusion of the cabinet meeting. And we'll get to the clip 3, Director, in just a second. But let's skip over 3. Let's go to clip 4, conclusion of the cabinet meeting from yesterday. And then I have a few things I'd like to add to it as you take a look right now.
I want to just thank, this is the greatest, this has never been done before. First of all, a cabinet meeting was sacred. You'd never let the fake news media in. But the fake news media isn't all fake. It's, a lot of it is, but it's not all. I think it's a great thing. I think maybe it's going to be done in the future. I hope it's going to be done. But you really get the word out. I mean, we had, each one of these people spoke. I think each one, if I thought one of them did badly, I would call that person out. I would say, Christy, what the heck are you doing?
Please don't say that.
No, but no, seriously, you have a very talented group of people. They get along, they work along together. And there's something really nice about just, the openness of what we're doing. It's government. It's an open government. That's what we are.
And that's what we like, an open government, right? Truth and transparency. As you're looking live at the White House there, the flag at half-mast for the tragedy in Minneapolis today. We'll get back to that in a minute, and we'll go to President Trump's Truth Social post. We saw one from the vice president, as well as the nation is receiving a lot of that news from earlier this morning, learning more about this heinous act by this person that had a lot going wrong somewhere upstairs. And so, that was a tragic event that took place, claiming the lives of an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, 17 others injured while they were at a Wednesday morning mass in Minneapolis. So we'll get to that as we get more information and as we go back to President Trump's Truth Social post. But the comments there from President Trump, isn't that interesting how he's saying, not all of the fake news is bad. Is that a slight hint toward conservative media? I believe it is, because we're not the fake news. We're on the right side of history, so it's great to be a part of it. You think about myself, Robert McNeely, Christina Loren, and others in conservative media who used to work in mainstream media back in the day, and there wasn't as many conservative media options out there. But you know what? Glad to be on the right side of history. Glad to be speaking things like, hey, I can share my faith on TV. What? I can talk about my support for the president and what he's doing. This is stuff that, in an op-ed section of a newspaper or a TV show, you're allowed to share your opinion. And then there's times when you have to share just the straight news, so it's putting on two different hats on occasion. But again, I know that you guys are with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network because if you remember back 2015, 10 years ago, this was all about those rallies and all about not letting the mainstream media try and dictate and narrate what the heck we're all going to hear and see by not showing the crowds or not showing the entire speech of President Trump. And so Right Side Broadcasting Network stepped in there and to this day is still saying, you know what, let's keep showing President Trump. Let's keep showing the entire cabinet meeting, the entire press briefing with Carolyn Leavitt, the entire event with Sean Duffy and on, because that's what you guys are wanting to see. You want to see that truth and transparency. Well, we can echo that to you of what we're seeing at the White House, but also you hear from myself and Robert and others here at the network, which we'll be hearing from Megan Kohler here in a little bit, just our thoughts and our commentary. And you know what's interesting about it? Watch when Megan talks later. When she's on the broadcast, she says things that 9 out of 10 Americans probably agree with when it comes to the right side of history, right? Like people that are common sense Americans. And that's what we are here. And we're glad that you're with us as we continue our live coverage at now 3:16 Wednesday, August 16. August 27th. I was saying 16 because I was thinking of John 3:16 as it's 3:16 p.m. right now. All right. In the meantime, let's go to President Trump once again. He was talking about cashless bail at the White House just yesterday at the cabinet meeting. So let's go to clip 3.
I'll start signing the executive orders. To me, this is a very, very big deal. The executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I mean, they kill people and they get out. We're ending it.
What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crimes. In addition to the measures that we're taking that are quite similar to what we're doing around the country, in DC in particular, the objective is holding as many criminal defendants in federal custody and subjecting them to federal charges as possible. That means that they'll be held pre-trial in federal jail as opposed to just being cut back out on the streets due to a cashless bail policy.
Okay.
So important.
All right, so let's go from the White House to get an update from the Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., also posting a video pretty recently as well. You know, whether the actual secretary is posting it or his team, regardless, it's great to see RFK Jr. and many others coming up. We've got some videos from the Coast Guard as well as we continue on our 24/7 news cycle coverage here. Again, you know, the news cycle also is part of what's going on social media now. It's a different age that we're in, of course, this information age that has been completed, right? So next up, and though some may like it, some may not, is the whole robotics AI age that you're seeing start out with Grok and ChatGPT and all sorts of AI things happening. Regardless, again, if it's something you're for or against, that is really what's, you know, starting to happen out there. But anyway, we can get to more of that if you want to talk about that a little bit later. But let's go to RFK Jr. right now, clip 5.
Hey, everybody, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. Today, the Trump administration is demanding bold reform in our medical education system. I'm leading a team at HHS with the support of Secretary McMahon at the Department of Education that targets a situation that everyone has long recognized as wrong, but no one has yet had the gumption to fix. It's the woeful lack of nutrition education in medicine. Poor diet drives America's chronic disease crisis, fueling 7 of our 10 deadliest conditions. Each year, it claims an estimated 1 million American lives through diet-related illnesses. Meanwhile, we pour more than $4 trillion annually into treating these preventable diseases, and we continue to graduate physicians unprepared to confront their root cause. The good news is that diet not only causes these conditions, it can also prevent and reverse them. But for too long, we've instead analyzed the chronic disease crisis, commissioned studies, and pontificated about the importance of nutrition without taking any meaningful action. Recent data reveals a critical disconnect. Although all medical schools claim to include nutrition in their curricula, most medical students report receiving no formal nutrition education throughout their entire training. This leads to a troubling reality. Most medical students recognize nutrition as necessary. Nearly all medical residents are asked to counsel patients about nutrition, but fewer than a quarter of practicing physicians feel adequately prepared to provide nutrition advice. We can reverse the chronic disease epidemic simply by changing our diets and lifestyles. But to do that, we need nutrition to be a basic part of every doctor's training. We'll start by embedding nutrition directly into college pre-med programs and testing it on the MCAT. Every future physician should master the language of prevention before they even touch a stethoscope. Under President Trump's leadership, we are going to systematically transform nutrition education throughout American medicine. For more than 200 of America's medical schools, 13,000 residency and fellowship programs, and ultimately each of the nation's 1.1 million practicing physicians. In the future, doctors won't just prescribe drugs. They'll be able to prescribe diets as well. By confidently screening for diet-related diseases and collaborating with nutrition experts to recommend food-based solutions. Our reforms will save our country hundreds of billions of dollars and prevent millions of debilitating chronic diseases. This is an approach that is both radical and common sense. We're going to reconnect medicine with its roots. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." His advice remains true today, and we're bringing back food to its proper place in medicine.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
All right, so Secretary Kennedy there speaking to us from the Department of Health and Human Services. Before we get to some more of our videos here, I did receive an email from a viewer saying, a greeting at the beginning, and she also said, "I feel so awful for those poor children in Minneapolis. This insanity needs to come to an end. I hope President Trump will make these liberal, lunatic politicians accountable, because I blame them for this insanity and senseless crimes and shootings. They encourage it," this viewer says. Thank you, Matthew, for the full and coverage of the truth. God bless. So, yeah, I mean, this is what some people are saying out there. And again, just like we're out there at all of those rallies over the years, it's we the people. It's all of us out there sharing, our opinions about what's going on. You remember, we've probably done the most interviews live outside of a rally of all time for President Trump. There's no other network, I believe, that would measure to Right Side Broadcasting Network since 2015. And that's an awesome thing. I mean, I still, think about the fact that this all started again in 2015, and it just snowballed to a huge avalanche of support from the people all across this country and some around the world. And it's just an honor, literally an honor, to be able to be a part of this whole thing in conservative media. But it's always good to match up with that vision as well, to match up with free speech, to match up with common sense, to match up with God, family, and country, and to be able to report all of these different stories and to talk about them with you guys. That's always going to be the way it is. There's no woke corporation trying to tell us what to say, which is pure freedom of speech right there. So it's great to see it, great to have it, and love you guys. You know what I mean? Let's be real about that. It's because we're all on the same team, the majority of the country. Everywhere you are right now, watching right now, whatever kind of job you have, whether you're looking for work, whether you just graduated, whether you're 75 years old, whatever it is, we have a lot of common things. We have a lot of common interests. A lot of us love God, love family, and love country. And that is the foundation of what I do as a journalist, as, if you want to call it podcasting, anchor, host, whatever you want to call me. But we're doing this all on the right side of history, and I believe that's the same for everyone that works at this network and in conservative media. We're just going for it. And you think about people like Rush Limbaugh, the great Rush Limbaugh. Obviously, it would be great if he was still here, but to see the greatness that he did in conservative media, he came onto the scene and just spoke stuff that people were like, wow, that's exactly how I feel and think. And it's not just, and again, a lot of times in media, they always are reading from a teleprompter, some producer that wrote the script, and it's a script that is just a bunch of, this is what happened at the news today, that, President Trump is now getting called a dictator because, that kind of crap. We don't do that here. Nothing wrong with having a teleprompter, but there's definitely something wrong with people trying to spew garbage all the time and really try and slant and indoctrinate the American people. And that's what they've done for decades. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but just rest assured that myself, RSBN, and conservative media is on the right side of history. This is stuff that we wouldn't speak like this just for our health. I want this for my family. I want freedom in our country. I want the Constitution to be the law of the land. I don't want to watch garbage, fake news, and thank God again for the great Rush Limbaugh and for President Donald J. Trump, who called out the fake news and really had something to do with everything that I think you see in conservative media today. Rush and President Trump, and then the great people that run this company and the other companies in conservative media. Though we are all different, different networks and all that in the conservative media side, we're all saying the same thing. Let's be real. We really are. We're reporting facts to you. We're sharing our heart with you guys because we want our country to be fully saved and secure, and we want our 20 core promises to happen that President Trump and the RNC promised the American people. This is all real deal stuff. So I know there's a lot of different stories to talk about. There's a lot of different things to, pontificate on and all that. And there's a lot of good times to be had. There's football coming up this weekend for college football. The NFL is coming up for those that like the NFL. There's a lot of different things we can do in life. Labor Day, come on now. Labor Day, thank God for the hard workers of our country. For all of us that go there every day to do, as they say, put the food on the table, right? But also to be able to create our own businesses, and a shout out to all the small businesses out there, So there's just a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be grateful for, and let's just keep on keeping on. Let's not quit. Let's keep going. Let's not fall asleep. Let's get this job done for God, family, and country. All right, I'm done. That's it. That's all. No, I'm kidding. All right, so it's 3:30. Let's go to a number of our great sponsors here at Right Side. It's bottom of the hour. RSBN, of course, a great promo code to use with MyPillow.com. So you have the free shipping sale. Always good to have that. So many products. You're talking slippers. You're talking slides, pillows, mattress topper, dog bed, the MyCross, the bed sheets, the Giza Dream Sheets. I mean, there's so many different great products there. More than 2,000 available for you. So just go to MyPillow.com/RSBN. That's where you can get the discount. And of course, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can do that as well. You can go to rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. There's also a P.O. box that you can send check or cash to, because I know now that there are people that send monthly checks to Right Side, and they have been doing so for years. So if you'd like to do the same, we have a P.O. box for you to send it to, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, it is the bottom of the hour. Coming up in just a minute will be RSBN host Megan Kohler will join us live. About a week or two ago, RSBN host Christina Loren was live with us. And of course, you saw our RSBN host Robert McNeely just yesterday for all of that cabinet coverage at the White House there. That was the 7th cabinet meeting for President Trump and the team there, and it was great to watch. I mean, as President Trump says, they're pretty good ratings, right? People like to watch that stuff. All right, let's go to Megan Kohler right now, joining us live, I believe, from Cleveland, Ohio. Is that right, Megan?
That's right. The land.
The land. Cleveland, Ohio. Thanks again for joining us. Let's first start this. I know that we had a few topics that we were going to tackle, but let's start with the tragic news of the day in Minnesota. You know, when you hear that at people were just at a mass, they were practicing their faith there. And then this as this person emailed, said lunatic liberal. We're learning a lot of information about this person. Do you think it definitely starts with that indoctrination of all this junk to get into somebody's head to go do something so stupid, right?
Yeah, it really is indoctrination. And actually, after President Trump won the election, I was talking with an Uber driver just in a neutral tone to see what they had to say. And she started saying how her and her friends were all terrified that President Trump was going to be in office. And I was thinking, terrified of what? Like, I was trying to dig for a little more info on her insight, why she would say that. And she didn't really have much to say. She was just worried about the normal liberal talking points, echo chamber of what they say on the news. And as we know, watching President Trump's rallies and being there present for everything that he's doing day to day, there's nothing to be scared of. But it's very manipulative how the Democrats and the liberals can get into the mind of some people and really play on their emotions. And when someone's scared, or if they're really believing in this cause, they can get to drastic measures like what we just saw, which is really sad and scary.
It is. And that's why it's great to have you on the broadcast today and for us to talk freely about really what's happening out there. And I think that's the problem, is for so many years, it was just the mainstream media. And not only, I'm not just going to blame just the mainstream media. Think about all of the corrupt institutions of our country. Everything from big tech back in the day, right? Everything from big government when it comes to Biden and those folks that don't want freedom to really flourish. You think about the education system, the public library system. Not every library, not every school, but from the beginning, these are what people have tried to pour into the minds of the youth of this country. And then now you've got people that are this person that did what he did this morning, this awful act. I'm kind of repeating myself, but I mean, it's just, isn't it wild to think about all of the institutions out there that need to be still cleaned up? And many of them are still trying to push their junk out there.
It runs really deep, and it really is psychological warfare, what's going on to try to indoctrinate people and really terrify them about traditional values, and Republicans and conservatives and Christians specifically acting like we're evil. And they have gone to great lengths to do that.
And the thing is isn't it interesting that when it's something that's true, or when it's something that's common sense, or when it's something that's right for mankind, right? And not only just in America, for the free world, that people that they come against that. They come against the good-hearted American. But the good-hearted American also can pack a punch in the sense of, well, President Trump says if they spit, you hit type thing, right? I mean, it's a thing of that we're not just going to roll over. We're waking up in a lot of ways, aren't we?
Yeah, and something that the liberals want is some false utopia that they're trying to create on Earth, which is never going to happen. They want this liberal utopia of deep blue cities, the New World Order, whatever you want to call it. And it's never going to result in what they're describing. So they talk about these policies that sound nice, but then in practice, they result in terrible livelihood for the people that live in that area. So we've seen that, for example, in all kinds of deep blue cities like San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles. Homelessness has gone crazy. There's people doing drugs in the middle of the street, in the middle of the daylight, with little kids around. It's really sad what they are presenting as their policies. And then when you see them in practice, the people that actually live there can actually see it face to face that these policies don't work.
Exactly. And for context, President Trump, I believe, was speaking about, law enforcement, when people go up to them and they're in their face and they're spitting at them, the hit back there from law enforcement. So I just wanted to make sure we knew the context on that comment. So, but the point is as well, we want to win people over too. You win more with honey than vinegar, right? So it's like, we know that the people that have been indoctrinated, there's got to be a way to get to them still, whether that's through faith, whether that's being friendly-ish. You can't keep your guard down. So how would you do that? Like some of your friends or family or just people that Megan, do you know anybody in general that has been indoctrinated? And how have you been able to speak into their life to say, hey, you know what? We can be on the same team here. We don't have to be at odds all the time.
That's true. I mean, I've been a huge supporter of President Trump since the beginning, even before the 2016 run. And of course, when President Trump ran in 2015, 2016, around that era, I was definitely decently vocal about my opinions then. But just over time, I became more and more vocal. And now I'm very involved, of course, with you guys, going to all the rallies and everything, getting involved more in the Republican space. But back then, earlier, like 10 years ago, I would just get to know people without talking about politics, and they got to know me and they realized I had a good heart and I was a good person. And I said a lot of logical, rational things that made sense. And then over time, I would just talk about conservative values and conservative politics and Republican policies and Republican presidents and leaders in a way that's very matter of fact. Because something that you'll notice with the liberal Democrat side is they think that it's socially acceptable to just start talking about their side of it. Like they're shouting at the rooftops everything that they believe in. Why are we not allowed to calmly talk about what we believe in? And when you talk about it as a matter of fact, people sometimes are shocked, but then you start talking about facts and data and they realize how much sense it makes. That's why I loved listening to Dan Bongino's podcast before he was in office with Trump now as part of the Trump administration. But he does facts and data all day long on his podcast. So I would just people would immediately shut their brain off if I said anything about President Trump. I would just talk about a policy and then they'd say, oh, that's great. I love that. And then they would realize it was President Trump that enforced this policy.
Yeah, and then so they would always try and brainwash that President Trump's this, that, and the other, and he's not this, that, and the other. And so that's the facts. And I know that you used to be a professional cheerleader for the NBA Cleveland Cavaliers. We know that this is one of the things we wanted to talk about and bring you on the broadcast. The whole thing with the NFL Minnesota Vikings situation where there's two male cheerleaders out there that are dressing like the female cheerleaders. Can you break down what's happening out there and what your thought is on that?
Well, there have been other NFL cheerleader teams that had males on there before the Minnesota Vikings just brought in these two guys. The Patriots had male cheerleaders. The Carolina Panthers, I believe, had male cheerleaders. The Rams, a couple other teams, the Falcons has one. So this isn't a brand new thing. I am from that world, so I pay attention to what's going on in the NBA and NFL as far as the entertainment teams go. And I've noticed that happened within the past couple years. Probably, 2020 2020, the COVID era, was really when the woke stuff started taking off. So from then on is when they started changing what they were doing with entertainment teams. So I noticed this trend already happening. I think the Minnesota Vikings now just have a spotlight on it, and people are just making these videos go viral. So now this is part of the conversation that everybody wants to know. I'm not mad at the guys who want to cheer. The guys who are becoming cheerleaders they seem pretty talented for the most part. So I'm not mad at them. I'm more so disappointed in the leadership and the corporations that are putting them on the team, because this is not their stage. As a dancer, I've been part of training camps and boot camps and choreography camps where we had males come in and choreograph routines, and that's okay. But to have them actually on the field, on the sidelines, wearing really tight outfits to try to look sexy, I don't think that's what the fans want, because at the end of the day, this is a talent industry team. It's all about, what do the fans want to watch? What do the fans want to see at the games? And what's going to, make the season ticket holders happy? And I don't think the season ticket holders voted or wanted or asked for these guys on the sidelines. And when I was a cheerleader growing up, we did have male cheerleaders every once in a while on my teams, whether that was through school. We would see other people on other teams at schools with basketball cheerleaders or football cheerleaders that were guys. Or on my competitive all-star cheer team, we had men because it was better for them to throw us in basket tosses or for stunting purposes. And then, of course, college cheerleading has guys too, like co-ed teams is normal for that, for stunting. But in this aspect, why are you trying to have this sexy all-female dance team now introducing guys when you're not even stunting, and you're also putting them in inappropriate uniforms? When we had guys on our team, they always wore like big t-shirts, and big shorts or big, baggy pants, because that was like a manly look. When now the Vikings are putting them in these skin tight shirts, and the shorts are okay. They're still a little tight and a little short, but they're trying to sexualize the guys. And to me, that just doesn't make any sense. And part of cheering and dancing in the NBA or NFL is hairography. And you have to know how to whip your hair around and whip it out of your face. And these guys don't have any hair, and they're not feminine. I mean, I guess they are. If they're a gay guy, they have a little more feminine essence to them. But I just feel it's in an inappropriate stage for them to be on.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of people talking about it. I mean, I remember watching, there was a Texas A&M game against Auburn here in Auburn. And yeah, there were some guys that were dressed like you were saying, baggier shirts, and they were throwing the cheerleaders up in the air and that kind of thing. And that's fine, but then when it comes to, like, to your point, that they would be dressing like the other female cheerleaders and the way they move and all that stuff. And especially with, with kids, if you're taking a kid to a game there, do you really want to expose them to that? And that goes on. There's so many other aspects of that too. I know we live in a world that has all kinds of crazy stuff going on, but come on, it's a football game. It's definitely a strange place to do something like that. Let's move over to the president when it comes to D.C. National Guard in Washington, D.C. Also speaking about bringing the National Guard to Chicago, maybe to New York, maybe other places. What's your thought on the National Guard being in these big cities?
I think it is a public emergency for safety in terms of cleaning up our city streets. If you travel around to all different cities like I have for work, especially, I've seen the good, bad, and the ugly of these, especially deep blue cities that were once amazing. Crime has run rampant. Homelessness has run rampant. I mentioned San Francisco before. I've gone to San Francisco for conferences before, but companies are pulling out of the Moscone Center in terms of having their conferences there because there's literally people on the sidewalk shooting drugs up into their toes with needles in broad daylight. That's not family friendly. That's not appropriate for anybody to see. How are you going to have people from all around the country come to your conference and see that when they walk outside? That's not safe. You feel unsafe trying to walk to your hotel. So they're not having conferences there anymore. And that just goes to show how bad the liberal policies were. And when you have hard on crime policies like President Trump has done on a global scale as far as peace through strength, when you do that on a smaller scale in the cities, people who are committing crimes talk to each other. Criminals are very smart, and they'll say, oh, over this border of this county line versus that county line, the police, you can get away with it here, but you can't get away with it there. So they'll start talking to each other and say, if you're going to pull some shenanigans, make sure you do it in this side of town, not that side of town, because the police will get you over here. So that all comes down to peace through strength. And that's what President Trump's all about. And he's starting right in our nation's capital.
If you're just joining us now, it's RSBN host Megan Kohler. Of course, we've been talking about the tragedy in Minneapolis as well earlier. We're going to have a statement there from President Trump online, not only on Truth Social, but the White House just put out a proclamation from the president. So we're going to get to that in just a second. Megan, to your point about the National Guard, I posted a list of 53 cities from the TV market sizes, right? So New York's 1, LA's 2, Chicago's 3. It goes back and forth between Philly and Dallas for 4 and 5. Then there's Atlanta and Houston, and it goes all the way to Tampa Bay and Austin and New Orleans, all that. Detroit's in there. Do you think that Chicago, Detroit, Memphis, Nashville, New York, Boston, Miami, Seattle, LA, San Diego, and then name a bunch of other towns, Denver, Dallas. Do you think that all of these cities should have the National Guard presence there to help local law enforcement to really right the ship when it comes to this new law and order that's happening, which is nothing, there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's a good thing, isn't it?
We definitely have to restore law and order across the country, and especially in our big cities. I think that DC will show results of what President Trump has done with the National Guard there, and hopefully the other cities will follow suit on their own and start to see, okay, why don't we implement some of these policies here and be tough on crime in our cities? But if it needs to get to that point where we start deploying the National Guard into all those cities, we might as well do it, because we need our big cities to be operating at full speed and being productive and people actually wanting to live there in order to thrive as a country.
That's a great point. And a shout out to the Illinois National Guard and to the Kansas National Guard and to the California National Guard. Every state and territory and our one district of Columbia, we have National Guardsmen and women there ready to go. This is something that they signed up for, you know. Megan, can you stand by for a second? I'm going to read this proclamation from the president. I want to get your take on a couple other topics. Can you hold on?
That's fine.
Awesome. All right. So the President of the United States says, as a mark of respect for the victims of the senseless acts of violence perpetrated on August 27th, 2025 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, by the authority vested in me as President of the United States by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order that the flag of the United States shall be flown at half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds, at all military posts and naval stations, and on all naval vessels of the federal government in the District of Columbia and throughout the United States and its territories and possessions until sunset, August 31st, 2025. The president saying, I also direct that the flag shall be flown at half-staff for the same length of time at all United States embassies, legations, consular offices, and other facilities abroad, including all military facilities and naval vessels and stations. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 27th day of August in the year of our Lord 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 250th. Donald J. Trump, President Trump, on whitehouse.gov. That proclamation out there, President Trump just posting that, he and his team on Truth Social. Your thoughts about that move there, Megan?
President Trump wants to bring awareness to what just happened. This tragedy is just atrocious, and he takes this seriously. That's the message he's putting out there, is we are not just going to let this fly under the radar. We're going to take this problem head on so this doesn't happen again. Exactly.
And to the point of the viewer that emailed in saying, you know, it's these liberal lunatic politicians that aren't helping the cause by indoctrinating people to get them to these kind of points in their life. But of course, we'll see more specifics when it comes to this suspect. I was seeing some photos on X. He was writing on various parts of the gun and the magazine. saying some awful things there as well. All right, let's shift to one more topic. Thanks again for staying with us, Megan. Thanks again for watching, everybody, as we are, monitoring news right now here at the network, and we'll bring you the latest as we get it. We have a number of videos to get to. We have some more interviews, and if there's any White House announcement or of a press conference or anything, we'll have it for you. If not, we do see a lot going on online for now. Let's talk about something that I think the country was just talking about and maybe still is talking about: Cracker Barrel. Make Cracker Barrel great again. And it looks like we're seeing the old logo restored. And President Trump speaking about that. We'll get to that Truth Social post in a bit. Megan, your thoughts on that?
Cracker Barrel has been part of Americana culture since the 70s. They created this logo in 1977, drawn on a napkin. And all of a sudden, this woke executive comes in here and decides that she's going to revamp everything and we're going to modernize it. We're going to try something new and rebrand it. They got rid of everything that makes Cracker Barrel an iconic brand and just stripped it down to some modern, bland, fall through the cracks restaurant. Nobody, why would anybody want to go there if there's nothing to differentiate it? The redesign of what they did inside of the restaurants is nothing like it was before. And the logo was stripped of the Cracker Barrel, the barrel part of it and the person. So what was the point of doing this? And I think they just lost their whole brand identity in this mix. And of course, with the major backlash of all the customers, anybody that ever wanted to go or anybody that had been there hated it. And President Trump, of course, criticized it too. And due to this backlash, they switched it back. And I think Jaguar should take some notes on this one.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I saw some photos so they were going to revamp even the inside of the Cracker Barrels as well, inside the store. It was going to look a lot more modern or something, but that's not what it's called Old Country Store. What are you doing, right? Sheesh. All right. So let's do this. Director, can we play, and Megan, if you could hold on for 1 second. Director, can we play the Utah Senator Mike Lee posted a Cracker Barrel video. It's clip 17. Maybe we can if we can switch it over to programming so I can watch that too on the screen here. Let's go to Senator Mike Lee, who posted the following. Check it out. Pretty good video there. A lot of people saw that one. At least 1 million people saw it on X. If you get a chance, Megan, you go to Mike Lee's X page, the senator out of Utah, put a whole video together with President Trump, kind of an AI video of him dancing with the Mr. Herschel there. But all right, so before we let you go, Megan, just tell us your thoughts just in regards to that 30,000-foot view of what we're seeing with President Trump moving forward in this White House. We want to see more wins, don't we?
I'm not tired of winning yet. He used to campaign on, we're going to win so much, you're going to get tired of winning. And I'm not tired of winning yet. Every day that we turn on the news, every day we go on any social media platform, we see new things that President Trump is doing towards a greater America. And he just mentioned that he was going to clean up the grass and the lawns in DC. All the parks are going to get new grass. Let's make grass great again. Of course, his backlash with the Cracker Barrel logo, among everybody else's backlash too, convinced them to change it back to what it was. So congrats on that. I think they should use this as a bunch of PR, free PR, so that they could double down back on their traditional culture of what Cracker Barrel used to be. And I'm excited to see the ballroom that President Trump is creating in DC attached to the White House. I think that's going to be beautiful. And we deserve an aesthetic, beautiful, safe America.
Perfectly said. Megan Kohler, thank you so much for joining us, RSBN host. Have a great day. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Matthew.
Definitely. All right, so it is 3:52, 8 minutes from the top of the hour here on this Wednesday, August 27th, looking live at the White House there. Of course, covering the tragic events in Minnesota as well today as we continue on with our broadcast. Before we move on with more coverage, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Of course, you want to be prepared. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits, but most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. Now, other pharmacies, while they raise prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications. Things like ivermectin and mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, which is starting at just $2 per capsule. All Family Pharmacy also has hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. You just fill out your request online, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your medications shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN10 to save that extra 10% off. Let's go from the great All Family Pharmacy to the great monetary gold, as Bank of America just announced that the U.S. dollar is on the verge of spiraling, collapsing. But if you think about that, your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. So history tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. So gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. That's why now's the time to call Monetary Gold the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. There's a couple numbers for you. You see one in there on your screen. There's also another number, 888-617-7994, or visit rsbnforthegold.com today. You don't have to wait for any kind of collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. Let's go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Of course, we know that if you use the RSBN promo code, you'll get a percentage off the Miracle Cream and any product that's on angelpaste.com. They hire military veterans, great products, and a great gift idea as well out of Spring, Texas. So angelpaste.com, use that RSBN promo code as it's 3:55, Wednesday, August 27th. Let's go to clip 7. It's a picture of the National Guard out there in D.C. So just simply put, there's not a huge paragraph of information to say other than thank God for the National Guard. Thank God for you guys out there in D.C. Thank God for those of you all across our land. Hopefully, if they're going to be going to a number of cities, we are okay with that. At least I am. And maybe I can ask my next guest that, as Eric Shiner, the Senior Director of the Media Research Center TV. So MRC TV is our next guest. Eric, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Your thoughts about the National Guard right now, what they're doing in D.C., and do you think that's something that should definitely happen in Chicago and other cities across the country?
Well, what's really interesting is to watch how the media reacts to it here in D.C. I think a lot of people know that live in the area know what the crime situation is. CNN was particularly flustered earlier this week because they went and asked some people on the street, and they didn't get the answer that they were leading. They went to say, well, don't you feel safe? And the person's like, well, I feel safe now that the National Guard is here. But I think the mayor and, all these people in Chicago, they shouldn't fight this. They should welcome this in. And they went to Chicago and they asked those questions. And people were saying the mayor should welcome this. Anything that makes us feel safer would be a great thing. And CNN was very flustered by these answers. This is not what they had hoped for. But the truth is, the actual people that reside in the area, the people that visit the area regularly, feel much better with the National Guard here. They're seeing crime go down. They've seen the shooting numbers go down since Trump has taken this action. So while the media is very upset by that, and that's what they're trying to portray, really the only people that are upset are the liberal politicians. A lot of the citizens really like to see what's going on here.
But then if you back up 30,000-foot view and look at that, isn't that the way it's always been, where it's the liberal politicians and then the liberal media acting like this is what the people want? They don't want that.
Well, that's it. You had the Chicago mayor saying that, it's immoral to put people in jail, and that they don't need the National Guard, and they don't need help in fighting crime. What they need is, more housing and more, social workers. But that, that's what's happening. They don't realize that if you house a criminal in jail, then, he has housing, I guess. But that's the argument that you hear from the mayor of Chicago. That's what you're hearing from a lot of the liberals. But the fact is, the people, they really welcome safety and security, and they haven't felt it in a lot of these liberal-run cities. So now you're seeing this happen. Will it happen elsewhere? That remains to be seen about the legality of that and how that would be implemented. But for what's happening in D.C., I think the majority of the residents are rather pleased.
And then stopping cashless bail is going to be a great thing to see happen throughout our country. It's just, I guess it's up to the different judges, though. Are they going to follow suit with that? And we know that there are liberal judges. I mean, you know what? This is still a big mess. I'm gonna call it like it is. I mean, we see a lot of big wins that we have in our country, but there's still a lot to still be taken care of, isn't there?
There is. Now, when you look at what's been accomplished so far under the Trump administration, it's actually an impressive record, especially since all the screaming and shouting about all these actions that he's taken. But when you see what has been accomplished, I'm not particularly a big fan of tariffs, but seeing how the tariffs have worked so far, there's a lot of people that are saying, well, okay, this is working. He's had this argument with the Fed chair about lowering interest rates. It seems like now that's going to happen. He's working on crime. He's secured the border. So we've seen a lot of accomplishments, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And crime has been a focus. It was a promise during his campaign, and it's something that he's continuing to focus on now that he's in the Oval Office.
Exactly. And then we're looking at, he sealed the border. That's already been done. I see these photos from the Department of Defense, and they post them on a site that we're allowed to use in the media, and you see the huge border wall, and you don't see anybody trying to cross the new wall, right? Then you see all of the investments into our country in the billions and billions and billions of dollars. So what we're looking at now is just those 20 core promises being solidified. And I want to get your opinion, sir, on this whole Russia hoax. So, we know that the DOJ is opening a criminal investigation. There's a number of crimes that have happened against we the people and President Trump, and we're going to let the court play out in the courts. But your thoughts about that and really holding people accountable so our country can stay great past President Trump's presidency?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it will be the matter of public opinion. A lot of the crimes, the time has passed, the statute of limitation has passed, but it's important for the American people to know how these things were laid out, how these things were designed. And I think having that knowledge will help the voters going into the future. It will help America understand, okay, this really was a really big hoax that really delayed what this president tried to do during his first term. And look at how the media used it and the left used it to hinder him and hinder his movement. And that's why you see him moving so fast now. I think the floodgates have been opened. They don't have that against him anymore. And now we're finding out information on how this all played out. And I think that information is going to be more vital to the voters than it will be to the courts in the future, because unfortunately it seems a lot of these actions, will be tough to prosecute.
Yeah, and then what I've heard from the conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon, he was mentioning that seditious conspiracy may be outside of the statute of limitations. So we'll see how that all plays out. But definitely a lot to be, still cleaned up and done. We're seeing, again, a lot of wins out there. It's great to see that. Can you tell us about MRC TV? What is it like if someone wants to watch? I know you guys have been around for, since the 80s and doing great things against the liberal media bias. So what would someone expect if they were to watch now?
Well, a lot of people are familiar with our home product Newsbusters, which really focuses on the media bias and does a lot of the reports. The video arm is basically trying to take those reports, put them in video form, taking the clips of the bias and putting them in some kind of context and presenting that on social media. So we're kind of the video arm for Newsbusters and Free Speech America and the Media Research Center on a whole. So when people go to our website, they're going to find videos on what's going on with bias in artificial intelligence and how, Chat GPT and others are being, this artificial intelligence is only as good as what it's being fed. And if you feed it liberal information and leftist information, that's what it's going to regurgitate to you. And that's kind of the new forefront of bias that you're going to see on the internet. But also, we're still covering the traditional media. We're covering the new media with podcasts. So we have a lot of focus on the media in a broad spectrum sense. And we're the video production arm. We try to get it out on social media so people can watch it, that these studies are explained, and that you can take it and, if you like that information, you can always click and get more from the actual study itself. So that's kind of what we're producing over at MRC TV.
And for those of you joining us right now, this is Eric Shiner, the Senior Director at MRC TV. Can you tell us why you originally got involved with Media Research Center? What was your personal story to get you to where you are today, and what your heart is when it comes to revealing this liberal bias that we know is there, but you guys have these numbers and these stats that I'm like, how the heck did you get those?
Well, it's a very scientific process. Here's the thing that you'll see in the media is really no one questions any of our studies because the data is there. We break it down for you, how we did the study, how this analysis was done, the periods of time that we compared things to, how we compared what was covered on ABC compared to NBC, compared to CBS, compared to Fox News, whatever the case may be. We break it down and we give it all to you. So a lot of times the media doesn't like our studies, but no one really argues that they're false because the data is there. My particular involvement is I came from a broadcast media background and kind of saw firsthand in the field some of the bias that was going on in the industry. And it was fairly discouraging, and had the opportunity to work for the Media Research Center. And I thought it's a good place to go and make videos and explain the kind of bias that you're seeing out there in the field.
It's pretty awesome. Were you a reporter or a producer?
I was a reporter, and I was actually a director of content at a station. I was a show host, so a news anchor for local news. So I had a bunch of different positions over the years. I'm really, really old.
You look like you're 30. I don't know what you're talking about, but
I wish.
So last question. So, like me and like Robert McNeely, Christina Loren, and others in conservative media, we worked in mainstream media. So what is it like for you to be able to say the things that you just said?
Well, no, it's a great place. I can make a video on any topic I want. There's cases where you wanted to do a story on an issue that related to Second Amendment rights or something of that nature, and the producers would frown and no, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to do that. We're here. That idea is obviously very welcome. Sure, absolutely. These are the things we want to be talking about. We want to talk about pro-life issues. We want to talk about Second Amendment issues. We want to talk about smaller government. So to have a place and be surrounded by a bunch of people who think very similar and encourage this type of work and encourage this type of production on these issues is very encouraging.
No, that's awesome.
I'm sure you're experiencing the same over where you are.
Yeah, it's great at Right Side, and it's great to see conservative media on the upswing, growing, and in the sense of hopefully the major solution to that liberal media bias out there. And remember, What would you like to say about, I'm just off the cuff right now, you think about the great late Rush Limbaugh. How has he played a role in you being conservative from back in the day?
My first job as an intern at a radio station while I was still in college, they had Rush Limbaugh on the air. So, I got to work while hearing that and making that go on. So you got to see that, and you got to see him. He often cited Newsbusters. He was a guy that said, hey, the MRC is part of what I do pre-show every day as I check and see what the MRC has done, what they have exposed. So as far as, making someone aware of the Media Research Center and the work that was done there, that was a big voice to have. So to have him amplify a lot of the Media Research Center's projects and studies over the years is unbelievable. And the fact that he always continued to do what he did and get his voice out there and buck the system and really grow talk radio and conservative talk radio into what it became. He's a legend. Absolutely.
100% I agree with you. Eric Shiner, thank you so much for spending the time with us. Senior Director at MRC TV. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Definitely. All right, so great to talk with people that have been in the business for a long time, and then Media Research Center, they've been around since the mid '80s, I believe. So great to just reminisce over what it's been like, the growth of conservative media since someone like the late, great Rush Limbaugh. So 4:07 Eastern Time. Let's do this. Let's go to a number of videos that we have for you. Let's go to the Coast Guard. Now, the Coast Guard, they've posted a ton of videos. So we're going to play 4 in a row for you real quick. As it's 4:07, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Please follow us on Truth Social at RSBN, on X at RSB Network. If you'd like to follow me on Truth, it's at Matthew Alvarez. Let's take a look at the Coast Guard videos right now. All right, so there you go. The Coast Guard kicking some serious butt out there, because you know what? At the end of the day, being able to have the Coast Guard along with the Navy helping with the southern border, I mean, did you ever think that the military would be involved with that? And it is because of President Trump. And look at what has happened. The border is sealed. We have really nobody trying to cross the border. And then on top of that, the Coast Guard's out there with the Navy and Customs Border Protection on the sea to stop any kind of narcotics from coming in. So, you know, and then they save lives left and right when it comes to if someone's stranded in a body of water, whether it's the ocean or a river, anything like that. So great job there by the United States Coast Guard. As it's 4:10 Eastern Time, let's go to a couple sponsors before we get to the Trump on Truth segment. And I also have a video from a way back Wednesday that I would like to share with you in a second. But callsheet.com, the Callsheet app is great, easy to download, of course, or you just go to callsheet.com/RSBN. And if you don't want to type all that in, just hold up your phone and get that QR code that you see right there on the bottom right of your screen. If you'd like to bet, trade, or just check out various polls out there, you know, all the topics that we've seen from science, technology, sports, weather, whatever you'd like to look at. There's a lot of specific questions like who will win the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, we know that President Trump should already have that. But we know that a lot of the leftist stuff happens, and, you know, the right people to get the right job or the right people to get the right award doesn't always happen because there's influence that is against truth. But anyway, callsheet.com/RSBN, a great spot to go. See, already, you just start going there and you start talking about some of the questions and things like that. Let's go to Cove Pier as well. Utah and Florida, those of you watching from the two great states there, just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. The question is, why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 8 decades? RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while now, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals out there, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ score. So that's one reason, and out of many, that we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. It's a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it up with tap water and plug it in, and it gets straight to work. Their Clear Wave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not actual H2O, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. Once you try Cove Pure water, you're never going to go back to the tap water. It makes your water taste great. And the best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm, it couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, that's totally fine, of course. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose when it comes to covepure.com/RSBN. Now, you'll get a special discount of $200 off with that RSBN promo code. And if you don't have a water filter, this is a good one to get right here, covepure.com/RSBN. And even if you do have a water filter, this is still a good one to get. Great sponsor here at Right Side. It's 4:13 p.m. Wednesday, August 27th. We are live in Studio B. So if you're wondering why are you in Studio B? Well, first of all, we know that on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock, Robert McNeely has his show Voice of Reason right here on this set. Studio A is being upgraded, renovated. So as soon as that's ready, we'll go over there. In the meantime, it's 4:14 Eastern Time. Let's go to our Trump on Truth segment. Are you ready? There's a lot of posts out there. And let's go to the first one, though, that happened this morning, of course. The first one, that's clip one, guys. We're looking at what President Trump said, of course. Actually, if we could shift back to the one about Minneapolis, Minnesota from earlier. Thank you so much for doing that. He said, "I have been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The FBI quickly responded, and they are on the scene. The White House will continue to monitor this terrible situation. Please join me in praying for everyone involved." Of course, we've spoken about this tragedy early on in the broadcast. We started at 2 o'clock Eastern. We also talked about the president's proclamation about the flags at half-staff. As an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, their lives have been taken from this suspect who took his own life, according to police reports. We're told that 17 others were injured in this shooting, 14 of which are children who are recovering from gunshot wounds. This was at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis this morning. So obviously, praying for the comfort of the families and those victims, those 17 that dealt with this heinous act. And we're learning more about this suspect and his leftist ways. I'm not going to get into too many specifics right now, to be honest with you, because there are so many reports out there, and I'm waiting for confirmations on everything. But we do know the tragedy that took place this morning. So we'll bring you the latest as we get it. And we also know that it's 4:15 right now. Let's go to President Trump's Truth Social from a bit later in the day. That is clip 9. So President Trump said, Rhino Karl Rove, when asked on Fox and Friends this morning, how to explain the tremendous success of the Republican Party with millions of people joining it and the Dems losing millions, was unable to give an answer. He just couldn't utter the words President Donald J. Trump, but that's okay. The people get it and always have. Let's stay at that one quickly. Just to correct what I just said, I was saying that these posts were after the Minnesota post, but these are posts actually prior to the post about the tragedy in Minnesota. Let's also go to clip 10. George Soros and his wonderful radical left son should be charged with RICO because of their support of violent protests and much more all throughout the United States of America. We're not going to allow these lunatics to rip apart America anymore, never giving it so much as a chance to breathe and be free. Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country. That includes his crazy West Coast friends. Be careful. We're watching you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That according to the president. Let's continue on. President Trump, clip 11. There is a sick rumor going around that fake news NBC extended the contract of one of the least talented late-night television hosts out there, Seth Meyers. He has no ratings, talent, or intelligence, and the personality of an insecure child, so why would fake news NBC extend this dope's contract? I don't know, but I'll definitely be finding out, the president says. Let's keep ripping through these posts here from the president. He said Republicans ban mail-in voting. President DJT. That's definitely great to see that. Hopefully that will happen. Number 13, track 13 there. Crime numbers are way down in D.C. Amazing progress being made. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Moving on to Chicago, a really deadly weekend in Chicago. 6 dead, 27 hurt in crime sprees all across the city, all over the city. Panic-stricken Governor Pritzker says that crime is under control when in fact it is just the opposite. He is an incompetent governor who should call me for help. Mayor Johnson is no better. Make Chicago great again. 100% in agreement with that one. Number 15, congratulations, Cracker Barrel, on changing your logo back to what it was. All of your fans very much appreciate it. Good luck into the future. Make lots of money. And most importantly, make your customers happy again. My wife told me the other day, she said, make Cracker Barrel great again. And now it looks like it's back. Speaking of back, let's go way back. Let's go to not that far way back. Let's just go about a year ago. So on August 31st last year in Alabama, there was this thing called a Trump boat parade. You remember those? Well, it's way back Wednesday. And I'm going to be really, I'll just be transparent with you. When I was producing this broadcast, you know, there's all these videos and there's a lot of things to talk about today and there's a lot of interviews to happen. And we're going to enjoy this video here. It's just it's a fun video to watch. But when it comes on the heels of these tragedies that happen, like in Minnesota today, and seeing that the flag is at half-mast at the White House, and having a child of my own, you know, with my wife, we have a 10-month-old, you know, and to think about an 8 and a 10-year-old, their lives taken. And we know it's good versus evil out there. We know it, as my first guest with Monetary Gold, David Schroeder said, it's God versus the devil. I mean, that's the root of all of this. Why would something like that happen if there wasn't an enemy, right? And also there's sin and there's people that are brainwashed and mentally ill. And then you combine a lot of that, then you have what you had happen this morning in Minnesota. So it's tough to, you know, to be, you know, all uppity and laugh a little bit when it's this kind of thing going on. So I just want to be honest with you because that's how I am. I like to just kind of tell it like it is. Again, no teleprompter. We're just rolling with it here. Live at 4:20 p.m. Wednesday, August 27th. So definitely have that on our minds and hearts. And we pray in Jesus' name right now, God, that you pour out your spirit in that area in Minnesota. For the families, the victims' families, and just people that are shaken by this. And this happens, unfortunately, we have things like this happening around our country, and that's why crime has to be cut down. That's why I want to see the National Guard in a number of cities across America. And this is why it's important to stop the indoctrination that's happening out there that leads to these kind of situations. So... all right, let's go to that way back Wednesday. It's about a 2-minute, 25-second video. So about a year ago today, Alabama, we had this Trump boat parade. I was there, used the camera here to video a lot of it, and then there was some help from some others that were doing the drone video. So that's clip 16. You're looking live there at the White House. Let's go just about a year ago to the day.
This country is in trouble, and we've got to have Trump back in office. If we don't, I have a couple of restaurants on a beautiful lake at Lake Martin, but I can assure you that it would make me very nervous if Kamala Harris was our leader. We don't need Kamala. We need Trump back in office. So I hope that you'll get to the polls. Let's get it done. We got to get Trump back in office.
It's great to be an Auburn fan, an Alabama fan, but most importantly, it's great to be a Trump American.
USA! USA! USA!
This is just phenomenal, the support he's got in Alabama and the support he's got in the whole country.
I started campaigning for Trump because he took a stand for putting up a wall, and we need that wall. And so I became a Trump delegate in 2016, 2020, and 2024.
You gotta make time. You gotta put off and go vote. I got a family too, and I'm gonna be deliberate about it and go vote.
USA! USA! USA!
Trump is America. Trump holds the values that I grew up with. He wants to run our country for all the people.
Definitely fun to put that video together last August. I was looking through some videos on Truth Social that I've posted, and sometimes I do that, like, way back Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, that kind of thing. This just in from the Secretary Kristi Noem of DHS about the Minnesota tragedy. We have confirmation that the shooter at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was a 22-year-old man claiming to be transgender. This deranged monster targeted our most vulnerable, young children, praying in their first morning mass of the school year. This deeply sick murderer scrawled the words, "For the children," and "Where is your God?" and killed Donald Trump on a Rifle magazine. This level of violence is unthinkable. Our deepest prayers are with the children, parents, families, educators, and Christians everywhere. We mourn with them, we pray for healing, and we will never forget them. That, according to Secretary Kristi Noem of the Department of Homeland Security, confirming some information at this hour, 4:25 Eastern Time. When I think of what was written on those magazines, "Where is your God?" and these other comments, it makes me think of Dylan and his accomplice there back in the day at the Columbine school shooting, and the media, acting like it had nothing to do with the music and nothing to do with movies and nothing to do with any kind of anything. It was just them on their own. No, there's influences out there, and I'm not blaming music or movies on this situation, but I'm just saying those guys wearing a certain T-shirt of their band back in the day, there's a lot of spiritual influences going on out there. There's a lot of indoctrination going on out there. There's a lot of people that are fanning the flame of that kind of crap, and we know that. We just heard from Kristi Noem talking about this person. So, we know in context what's happening. We like to tell it like it is. I like to kind of dive into different stories once I know more and more about it. But to be honest, we had a 3-hour broadcast lined up for you today. And obviously that tragic news unfolded earlier. But we know that as we get more information, things are confirmed, just like I read there from Kristi Noem. We can then comment on the details. Anyway, it is 4:26. And when I say anyway, I don't mean to just brush it off. Just something to say. Judge Jeanine Pirro has an update on Washington, D.C. That's clip 18. Let's go to, by the way, Judge Jeanine Pirro is a national treasure. We love you, Judge. Check out this video, clip 18.
Everyone, it's Judge Janine. It is Wednesday, August 27th. The surge continues in D.C. as the president is trying to make this district safe and beautiful. And last night, there were an additional 84 arrests and 84 guns taken off the street as a result of the cooperative law enforcement effort between federal and local police. Now, that brings a total of 1,178 arrests and 123 guns off the street. That means those guns can't be used to shoot and kill other people. But in addition to that, my office, through the Violent Crimes and Narcotics Trafficking Unit, made an arrest yesterday after a 1-year Title III wiretap investigation into narcotics trafficking, and we seized 18 additional weapons on top of the 8 guns that were seized last night. And as you can see, we've got long guns and handguns and AR-15s and a Draco, some scary weapons that we took off the street in addition to those numbers. So it is a coordinated effort. We are in full throttle right now trying to make the district safe pursuant to the president's requirement and executive order. And you know what? I don't care what anyone's saying about the fact that they don't like the police out there. The real people who live and work in the district and want to visit our nation's capital are entitled to be in a place that is safe and beautiful.
Another mic drop by Judge Janine Pirro. Isn't that the truth? What the real people are saying out there. Again, the left-wing media, as you guys know, and these politicians, they are on the same team. So they go out there and they say, this is the messaging that we want to share with the people. We want the public opinion to think it's this. Thank God for conservative media. Now, this is not just, hey, because I work at conservative media. Yeah, watch me. It's more, hey, guess what? We're on the side of truth. I've worked in mainstream media for, 2 decades? So I've seen what it's like on that side. Thank God for this side. Anyway, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. You want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies out there make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. While other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving it 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you're going to get an extra 10% off with the promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. They also offer hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is simple. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your medication shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN 10 code to save an extra 10%. Speaking of percentages, let's go to Tax Network USA. If you have a percentage of maybe a back tax that you have to pay, well, these guys can help you out. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415 is the number. tnusa.com/RSBN is the website. Always good to have a patriotic group of people that are going to help out other patriots. This is exactly that. Tax Network USA. Give them a call, 800-357-1415. It is 4:30 Wednesday, August 27th. We're looking live at the White House right there. And we know that as it warrants, when President Trump has stuff on his schedule, when it comes to an Oval Office executive order signing, or when Carolyn Levitt has a press briefing there at the White House, we're here for it. We're glad that you guys choose us, and glad to be a part of conservative media on the right side of history as it's 4:31. Let's go to an interview with Joey Vasquez, the Media Research Center. A lot of great people over there, and Joey Vasquez is one of them. He actually just took a trip to Israel. He's going to tell us about it, and then we'll have some comments after that as well. So let's go to that interview right now. And joining us now on right side is Joey Vasquez, the associate editor with the Media Research Center. Joey, thanks again for joining us. This is, I think, the 3rd time you've been on the network.
The 3rd of many more to come.
Yeah.
God willing.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. So, all right, so let's talk quickly about Newsbusters. I know you guys have been around for now 20 years, or a 20-year anniversary. So it's awesome to think that there is a group that is saying we're going to go against the liberal media bias. We know that Rush Limbaugh did that. We know that President Trump has done that indirectly as a political leader. We know the conservative media is doing that, but you guys have been doing that for 20 years. That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it's 20-year anniversary, more like 20 years of migraines. I mean, there's a reason why we watch the leftist media so the American people don't have to. I mean, my gosh, the amount of Tylenol that I just had to take within the 6 years just trying to make sense of all the brain hurt that goes on in the leftist media. I mean, goodness gracious. But I'm glad we're able to do it and provide a service to the American people. It's truly an honor to be a part of such an amazing team. Just shout out to my colleagues, Curtis Howe, Nick Fondacaro, Alex Christie, and my boss, Tim Graham and Brent Baker. We've been doing this for a while now. We're looking forward to doing it more going forward. I mean, this is important. It's important always to remind the American people of just how skewed the leftist media is. I mean, for goodness sakes, everyone remembers that one clip where Chris Matthews said in 2008 that when he heard Obama speak that he got that thrill up the leg. And I'm looking, I mean, that was because of Newsbusters put that clip out there. And I remember watching it and I'm like, yeah, Chris, you didn't get a throw up the leg because you heard Obama speak. You got to throw up the leg because you sat in a nerve. So, I mean, but the thing is, like, we knew about this because the Media Research Center was there. And this is back in 2008 when I was a young kid. So now that I get to be a part of this team, it's more than an honor. I love this job and I love fighting for the American people this way.
Exactly. And then even just the past 6 years, you think about it, 2007, the iPhone comes out, right? And then all of the, Facebook and Twitter, and then it's just grown by leaps and bounds. So the past 6 years, the information age obviously completed at this point because we can get information just like that. So there's just a lot more content that you guys have to gather and look through and see. And then you guys go deep into it where you're able to bring out specific statistics about this many minutes that they gave this coverage to this story or that to that story. And then that's picked up by other news media. So, yeah, I mean, the past 6 years, man, it's been going at lightning speed, I'm sure, right?
Oh, of course. I mean, now with the explosion of big tech and also artificial intelligence, and there's definitely no shortage of work around here. That I can tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, we proved to the American people that the leftist media in the United States is in fact leftist. We did prove that. But it seems like, the media now is this amorphous concept where there's podcasts and now there's AI and now there's big tech censorship, which was a relatively new frontier that we had to fight, to protect free speech. So now it's no longer, people are just getting one side of the narrative. Now they're getting their opinion censored. Online, and I was a part of the Department of Free Speech America that helped, build the Censor Track database where we documented individual cases of censorship and then, put pressure on big tech to explain themselves. Because the last thing that the American people want is some sort of de facto ministry of truth policing what they're able to say on the internet, because most people do their jobs, they have their livelihoods on the internet. So now it's not just these big broadcast networks that are just spewing a left-wing narrative. Now you have conservatives who are talking online are having their speech policed by these leftists in these ivory towers and big tech. So it's so it just seems that the span of things that we have to monitor just get bigger. But guess what? Even though that may be the case, we're still going to continue to fight for the American people. We're still going to defend their speech, and we're going to continue to kick the leftist media around because we love doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And we love the First Amendment, including freedom of speech within that First Amendment there. It's great to see that, in our country, that we have people that are really geared to working on the right side of history. Now, I understand that you were just overseas. You, for the first time across the Atlantic, over to the Holy Land in Israel. So first, tell us about your trip, why you went, and then the second part I will ask you about is just what it was like to be in the Holy Land itself, personally, as a person of faith, as I know you are.
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, this was a fact-finding mission with Newsmax. Shout out to my colleagues at Newsmax, who provided this opportunity for me to go. And to be honest, when I went and I saw what was happening on the ground with my own eyes, talked with Israeli government officials at the foreign ministry and also at the Knesset, and also, met with people in the kibbutzes that were invaded by Hamas. There's only one conclusion that I came away with, if I'm just to put it in a nutshell. The global media is lying to you. All the anti-Israel propaganda that is circulating around the global media are nothing but lies. I spoke with a survivor for the Nova Music Festival massacre on October 7th. Over 300 people were butchered by Hamas. And I asked her straight up, I said, what do you say to the American media or the global media in general that are pushing this narrative that Israel's at fault here for continuing this war? She said, it's all lies. All of it are lies. And while she's talking, we're at the site of the music festival. So it was brave on her part to even return to the place where she saw her friend butchered. While she's talking, you can hear Israeli artillery still going off in the background because they're still hitting Hamas tunnels and controlled demolition. You could see her like shake because of the PTSD that was activated when she heard it. And you just see what these people have been put through. I spoke with, young people who were enlisted in the IDF. These are 20 and 21-year-olds. I mean, whether it be young men or young women in leadership positions was giving us the lowdown of what's going on, whether it be at the northern border with Syria or whether it be what's going on in the south. I mean, these kids are being vilified by the global media, and then meanwhile, these people just want to live in peace. I spoke with members of an elite reserve unit in the Golan Heights. I mean, these are men who are just simply protecting their homes, and they always have to be on the lookout because there could always be the possibility that Hezbollah in the north can end up launching some other attack. I mean, and so to see it with my own eyes, it's one thing to see how the media is portraying it, but then when you go and you actually are on the ground and you see the people that suffered. I mean, I was talking with the people in the kibbutz Nahalotz, which is just meters away from the border with Gaza. And these are the lefties. These are the people who would classify themselves as the hippie communists, right? If anyone was pro-Palestine in Israel, it would be these people. I mean, they would hire people from across Gaza, the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. They would cross the border to work their lands, and then they would go back, and that was the arrangement that they had. And these people were the very ones that were attacked by Hamas first, the ones that extended olive branches from Gaza. And and now when you talk to these lefties, who are trying just to live in peace in their communes, they tell us, what? Let the global media say whatever they want about us. Just please bring our hostages home. I mean, what more can you say to that? I mean, this is the kind of barbarism that they have to face. It's so far beyond political differences. Now everyone is disillusioned that they're living under constant threat. And this is something that is not new for Israel. It's existed since time immemorial. But now is when they're facing another crisis, and just like in years before, they're getting bombarded by these slanderous opinions by the global media, horrific, nonsensical stuff. And and to be able to see it with my own eyes, to be honest, it made me angry. It made me angry to see what the innocent people of Israel have to constantly go through, just so that they can survive and defend themselves. Prime Minister Netanyahu just said on a podcast, and I believe he's totally right. He said everyone supports Israel's right to defend itself, except when Israel exercises that right to defend itself. It's the truth. So to see it firsthand, it was heartbreaking, and it definitely made me angry. For there's no other way to describe it.
It seems like a roller coaster of emotions for you. So professionally, that's the angle that you were there for, and then personally, I know you're a person of faith, you're a Christian, so being there as well, you said you were along the Western Wall praying there, so how do you juggle something like that? How long was the trip for you?
The trip was between Sunday and Friday, August 10th through August 15th. And I'll have to tell you, as someone who studied the biblical stories my entire life, my father was a pastor, always raised me and my brother to in the admonition of Jesus Christ, and studying the history of the Jewish people, and now seeing it with my own eyes. I can't even describe the emotions that I was going through. Everything was like fast-paced because everything was scheduled. But when we were given tours through, let's say, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which houses the site of Jesus' crucifixion, I remember the way I felt when I reached down and I touched the rock of Golgotha. And the first words out of my mouth were, Lord, I am a Lord. Because it was here that his blood was shed for a sinner and a wretch like me. And most people go their whole lives, most people of faith go their whole lives without ever being able to have this opportunity. And the other amazing thing was that in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which houses, by tradition, Jesus' burial site and also his crucifixion, I was shocked by the number of faiths that hold joint custody over the church. It's not just Orthodox. The Coptics are there, the Syriacs are there, the Catholics are there, the Armenians are there, all sharing some form of custody over the holy places. In other words, it wasn't about their differences in Christianity. They were united because they realized that this was the most holy place in Christendom. And to see that level of unity, I don't even think I've seen that in the United States, at least in my years in ministry. And yet these people are united because they realize that what the message of Christ is more important than whatever little differences that they may have on doctrine. So it was definitely amazing to see. And other things that we saw, like, for example, praying at the Western Wall. I didn't know how I was going to, what to expect. All I knew was that before this trip was over, I need to make my way to the Western Wall and pray there. And I prayed. I went there and I prayed alongside Orthodox Jews. I prayed alongside them. Not one of them was bothered by my presence there. We were all praying. Many of them were crying and sobbing at the Western Wall. I was crying and sobbing at the Western Wall. And I had my prayer written out for me. And the prayer that I wrote out was, Lord, let thy will alone be done in my life. And I left my prayer inside the wall. And the people of Israel are so misunderstood. They're so, they embraced me. They embraced me as a Christian. See how diverse, especially Jerusalem is. I mean, between the Muslims who have their quarter, they have the Jewish quarter, then they have the Christian quarter where they're selling Bibles and crosses all up and down, the street. They honor faith in that city. And to walk the streets that Jesus walked, I mean, we were led into the road to Jerusalem, which is currently being excavated, and we were led down the same road that Jesus walked. And we went to the site that is argued to be the place of the Pool of Siloam, where Jesus told the blind man who he had rubbed mud in his eyes to go and wash his eyes in the Pool of Siloam. And to see that, to see it and actually say and read scripture again and say, I've been there, I've seen it. It's a whole nother level of being connected to your faith. It became even more real for me. I looked at the Kidron Valley where King David had fled from his son Absalom after he orchestrated some kind of a coup. And I saw the area. I was on top of the Mount of Olives. And I looked down and I saw the Garden of Gethsemane. And to see the Bible come to life that way. And I realized even more so about my obligation as a Christian to not only honor this land, not only to honor the legacy of the Jewish people, but this is where my Lord walked. And the thing is, this is where he served. This is where he started his ministry. And the thing is, for me as a Christian, coming from all on the other side of the world, to be in this place, knowing that as a Christian, I am merely a grafted-in branch to the original promise that God made to Abraham. It made it even more real for me. And it humbled me to no end. Because I felt, Lord, I know the mistakes I made in my life, and I know all the sin that I've done, and yet you have given me this opportunity to see your land with my own eyes.
From Israel to America, you think about the freedom we have here and also how our country founded on Jewish Christian principles. So what would you like to say to people of faith in this country as well, and moving forward in the political spectrum, in the political arena as well, that yes, we pray hard that things will work out, but we also have to work hard too, right?
Exactly, right. Faith without works is dead, the book of James says. The works that we do is the evidence of the faith that we have. And I want to encourage everybody, turn off your TVs when it comes to this anti-Israel stuff. Go there yourself. Make it a point, whether it be the Israeli Foreign Ministry is helping delegations of people from around the world get to Israel so that they can see for themselves. And what's funny, as a journalist, when I was there, I was not told what I could say, what I could not say. Every single question was on the table. We even met with President Isaac Herzog of Israel. I was able to ask him a question about, the constant, push to engage in a two-state solution, which I think to me is just ridiculous at this point, given that the Arabs have, the Palestinians have rejected every single agreement that has been offered for partition. I mean, one of the amazing things is this one thing I want to let people of faith know. One of the things I learned when I was at the Knesset, when we were given a briefing on what's going on. In Gaza, apparently the Israeli military found in a classroom a map, and Speaker Ohana of the Knesset showed us this map. And it was a map that pretty much showed Israel blanketed over. In other words, that Hamas or, Palestinians or whatever took over the entire country. This was in a classroom, and adjacent in a classroom was a room that had stockpiles of weapons, crates of weapons and ammunition. And what it showed to me was that from the beginning, when they're children, they're indoctrinated to believe that Israel is the font of all evil. This is not something that a treaty can fix. They are taught from childbirth that Israel is the great savior, that Israel is a Satan that needs to be destroyed. So when you see all the Hamas propaganda coming out and all the stuff about how there needs to be an agreement and common ground, you can't make treaties with people that want to see you destroyed, and that's what Hamas is. They want to see Israel obliterated from the face of the earth. So if that's the case, then you know what? Then Israel is absolutely right to defend itself. You need to turn off everything else that is going on. The people who know absolutely nothing what they're talking about, go and see it for yourself. Don't even take what I'm saying for it. Go over there and see for yourself, and it will awaken you to a lot of the lies that have been circulating in the global media. As a first-time visitor to Israel, I was shocked by not only culture that exists, the diverse culture that lives there, but then also to see the lies that the leftist media here, the podcasters who have a microphone, who have never been to Israel, all of that exposed. So go for yourself, see for yourself, and you can witness the amazing land of Israel that I did. I came home encouraged, and I was embraced as a follower of Christ there. I wasn't rejected. So that's all I can say for the people of faith and for the American people. Go. Don't listen to me. Go for yourself, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
The associate editor at the Media Research Center, Joey Vasquez. Thanks so much for joining us once again here. I know that this is our third time joining together here for this interview, and we know that some of the other interviews, we had a lot of fun with them, but there's some serious talking points as well. So that's what we just heard here. Again, Joey, thank you again for joining us on Right Side. Looking forward to having you back on the show again.
Thank you so much, my friend Matt. God bless.
God bless you. All right, Joey Vasquez with the Media Research Center on there. It's 4:49 Wednesday, August 27th. I will say, of course, the Israel, Gaza, and the whole situation in the Middle East, a lot of varying opinions out there. And when we interview people, whether they're saying something that's right on point or not, it's still freedom of speech, and it's great to see that. And it's great to have Joey Vasquez talking about his trip to Israel there, both for the personal reason and the professional reason to go there. So great to have him on the broadcast once again, as it's 4:49, now 4:50, Wednesday, August 27th. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, you have the free shipping sale there with Mike Lindell. Of course, the great mypillow.com. More than 2,000 products that you guys can choose from on MyPillow. All sorts of stuff, including coffee or obviously pillows, sheets, all sorts of stuff. So mypillow.com/RSBN, great sponsor here at Right Side. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. You can donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, we have an address for you as well. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. Thank you so much for supporting Right Side as we continue in free speech and being on the right side of history and common sense. And we hear from a lot of people, of course, out there at those rallies, and it's great to hear from our citizens, to hear what they're saying about the country. We'll see if there's another rally coming up. I mean, we know the midterms are going to be next year, so we'll see if there's a number of rallies that we can cover for you. But we look forward to bringing you all the news right here at the network. All right, let's go to Christy Noem once again. She said recently, quote, we have confirmation that the shooter at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was a 23-year-old man claiming to be transgender. This deranged monster targeted our most vulnerable, young children praying in their first morning mass of the school year. This deeply sick murderer scrawled the words, quote, for the children, and, quote, where is your God? And, quote, kill Donald Trump on a Rifle magazine. Kristi Noem saying this level of violence is unthinkable. Our deepest prayers are with the children, parents, families, educators, and Christians everywhere. We mourn with them. We pray for healing, and we will never forget them. So that from Kristi Noem, as we know that an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old lost their lives today from this, as some people are calling him, a lunatic, liberal lunatic out there. So that is something that is obviously tough to see. And we see that the White House right there, you have a close-up of the flag that's on top of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue at half-mast, and then you see the wider vantage point of the White House right there. Now, that flag went to half-mast a few hours ago. We had that video for you. Why don't we go back to that video in that moment when that happened? Director, let me know when that's ready so we can see the flag go to half-mast, which happened, again, a few hours ago. We've been live since 2 o'clock, and we'll be wrapping up here in a minute, but I just want to say thank you so much for streaming in with us today. When there are various live events like White House press briefing, or when President Trump is speaking at the Oval Office, or when he greets a world leader, of course, we're always there for it. On days when there's not as much going on at the White House, we, of course, cover the news of the day. We bring on guests, and we also like to play a lot of those 24/7 social media videos that are out there, the 24/7 news cycle videos. In the meantime, speaking of videos, let's go back to the White House from just earlier today when that flag was brought down to half-mast. Going to read the proclamation from the 47th president. Once again, this was just released within the past couple hours. The president says, as a mark of respect for the victims of the senseless acts of violence perpetrated on August 27, 2025 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, by the authority vested in me as President of the United States by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, President Trump says here, I hereby order that the flag of the United States shall be flown at half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds at all military posts and naval stations and on all naval vessels of the federal government in the District of Columbia and throughout the United States and its territories and possessions until sunset, August 31st, 2025. I also direct that the flag shall be flown at half-staff for the same length of time at all United States embassies, legations, consular offices, and other facilities abroad, including all military facilities and naval vessels and stations, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 27th day of August in the year of our Lord 2025 and the independence of the United States of America, the 250th. That from President Donald Trump just a couple hours ago. You're looking, I believe that is a live picture of the flag that is live, according to the director, of on top of the White House right there, as we mourn the loss of two young children, 8 years old and 10 years old, who are simply at a mass this morning in Minneapolis when this, now what Kristi Noem has confirmed, this person was saying that they were transgender, the suspect. There's a lot of things that they wrote on those magazines, which we've already reported here a couple times. But right now, You know, the power of prayer is interesting because sometimes people deny the power of God. That's even in the Bible. They may honor God with their lips, but their heart is completely far from him. That's biblical as well. You look at certain, pastors out there. The Bible simply says that basically Jesus is saying, you honor me with your lips, but your heart is far from me. Basically a wolf in sheep's clothing. Depart from me, I never knew you. And so as believers, we know that this is about a connection with God, and there is power in prayer, and there's power in his presence, and there's power in the Holy Spirit, and it's all real stuff. It's not just a thing of knowledge that we believe, we think that there is a God, or that the Bible says salvation is this way and all that, right? There's an actual experience that unfortunately, some churches out there have chased after these experiences and made it this false gospel or false kind of pursuit of spirituality. There's nothing wrong with having an experience with God that's genuine, though. When it comes to loving God with all your heart, your soul, your strength, your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. We all know this. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. But I know this, though. There is the power of God with the Holy Spirit, and we can have his presence with us that can encourage us in these difficult times that we see in our country and in our world. Again, words that you would never hear on mainstream media, and who cares? Because conservative media is on the rise now, and we know that with God, all things are possible. God's the one that saved President Trump that day. You might ask, well, what happened today? Why did that happen the way it did? Well, there's free will choice out there for people to do terrible things, but we know this, as Charlie Kirk said earlier, that the 8-year-old and the 10-year-old is in heaven, and that shooter is not. So it's 4:58. Let's do this. We have a couple more sponsors. I know we got deep on you there, but sometimes it's needed, you know. And I sense I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I sense the presence of God a little bit right now. And I know that sounds weird to some people, but I don't really care, to be honest. We need God. We need the Holy Spirit to move in our lives. And we need to just go to that new level with him. And I know it's a hard day for those of us that have paid attention to the news. And we know that in the future, you know, if you believe in the Bible, it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect until Jesus returns. So let's keep praying. And let's keep asking God for more of his Spirit in our lives. Let's go to a couple sponsors, then we're going to close this broadcast. Isn't it great to be part of freedom of speech and love God, family, and country, and hear that in news media? I mean, this is news media. RSBN is Right Side Broadcasting Network. You know, this is a place that you see a lot of live events, and you have hosts and correspondents that are on the right side of history, and it's great to be a part of it. All right, so let's go to, I believe you said All Family Pharmacy Director. All right, let's do it. So you want to be prepared. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits, but most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, and keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. While other pharmacies are raising prices, All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. They also have hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. Ordering is simple. Fill out your request online. A licensed doctor will then review it, and your medication shipped to your door in just a few days. Check them out. You'll definitely find something you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN10 to save an extra 10%. One more sponsor here before we close out our broadcast, as it's 5 o'clock on the nose. I'm going to close this one with prayer. So if you guys that want to stick around and pray just for a minute right after this, that's kind of how I feel like I want to close it. So that's what we'll do. So Utah and Florida just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. Why are all these states suddenly doing this massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 80 years? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while now, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So there's proof through these scientific medical journals, JAMA Pediatrics, saying that Scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water cause more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. That's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and get straight to work. They have this ClearWave technology certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. Anything that isn't water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. Once you try Cove Pure water, you're never going to go back to the tap water, of course. The best part is that the water tastes great, and then you have this temperature gauge where you can choose cold, hot, and warm with this Cove Pure system. But if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get that through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose here. Click below covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time, you'll get a special discount of $200 off of Cove Pure. All right, so it is 5:02. I'm going to close in prayer today as we see the half-mast of our great United States flag on top of the White House there. And when I was reading that sponsor, it was talking about pure water, and what we need is that purity of the Holy Spirit. We need a drink of the Holy Spirit. And again, if that sounds strange, it's my belief system, so I'm allowed to have it, right? Just like you have yours, you may agree, but I will say this, that Carolyn Levitt, before she goes out there to the press room there at the James S. Brady press briefing room at the White House, this is a video that Margot Martin, who is a White House assistant to the president, posted a video showing Carolyn praying and the team there at the White House Office of Communications praying. We know that there's a White House office, a faith office there. We know that this is an administration that believes in the power of prayer. We know that the great Scott Turner, who, man, when he prays, everybody's, really engaging with God during these prayers. And so I'm going to lead a prayer here. If you're a believer, pray with us. Pray with me. And if not, thanks so much for watching. Glad you're with us, because at the end of the day, we know this. In this political arena that we're in, this is all about freedom for our country. Freedom, freedom, freedom. We love freedom. And the Bible says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So let's pray. God, we thank you so much for being with us today. At 5:04 on the East Coast, Wednesday, August 27th. God, I pray you pour out your Spirit on all of conservative media right now, including Right Side Broadcasting Network here at this network. We pray in Jesus' name you move by your Spirit and let your presence be sensed for the victims' families in Minnesota. Help us get through these difficult times when we see these type of headlines out there. I pray that you move by your Spirit right now. Anybody that's watching this broadcast, I just pray that you pour out your Spirit on them right now, that you would just pour out from heaven. And everything I'm praying here is biblical. It's asking God for more of God. It's connecting with God. And the greatest commandment, and I'll close with this, we know God is to love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. So God, we love you with our heart, soul, strength, and mind, and our neighbor as ourselves. Help us. We need you every day. And when we pray, we know that we're still strong people. We can be strong, but I'll take the power of God over me any day of the week. So be with us on this day, on this August 27th, 2025. For all of us at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.